Mr. Speaker, the country's economy is echoing the song of Calypsonian King Tronada, I will strive, for I am alive, and I know I will survive. Mr. Speaker, people were waiting to hear where tax went up and which projects would be on hold. Instead, what they heard from the Prime Minister, who is also the Minister of Finance, is a budget that represented courage, wisdom, perseverance, hope, and persistence. A budget for a country which is ready to contend at international level despite limitations and challenges. Mr. Speaker, humbled by our success, we ponder on Romans 12:12. If it had not been for the Lord on our side, therefore we return thanks to him for his goodness and mercy. Mr. Speaker, I wish at this point to express profound gratitude to our leader, Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit, my colleague minister, the countless faithful prayer warriors, the committed public servants, business persons, and regional and international partners who have assisted us in riding the tide, which has made us an example to others, a reference point used by many all over the world for so many best practices, especially as it pertains to the management of COVID-19. The Ministry of Education, Human Resource Planning, Vocational Training, and National Excellence is striving to be more responsive by providing citizens with education that prepares them to participate in the national, regional, and global economy. Mr. Speaker, the Dominica Labour Party's Manifesto 2019, Dynamic Dominica, articulated our Prime Minister's vision that in every household in Dominica, there must be a university graduate. This measure is intended to raise household income and the quality of life across the island. This will give families a new sense of hope, pride, and more stable and secure future. In addition to the Island Scholarship, National Performance Awards are granted to top performers of 5 faculties at the Dominica State College. A special scholarship is also awarded to the winner of the National Carnival Queen Show. Several students receive financial assistance to attend different universities all over the world. Mr. Speaker, this government has invested more than $30 million in enabling 3,779 individuals to obtain tertiary education ranging from associate degree to PhD level. In this regard, I wish to acknowledge the Dominica State College, the University of the West Indies Open Campus, Cave Hill and Mona Campus, Southern and Northern Caribbean Universities, Monroe College, Midwestern State University, and Grambling State University, among the many other universities and colleges, including those in Europe and all around the world. The ministry continues to receive offers of partial and full scholarships from organizations such as the Organization of American States, Commonwealth Scholarship Commission for Scholarships in the United Kingdom and in New Zealand, the People's Republic of China, the Republic of Cuba, Morocco, Romania, Serbia, and Turkey. The FOC Harris Scholarship is awarded every 2 years for students pursuing law degrees. This government also receives offers for short training courses and economic cooperation, National Cooperative Agency. We extend gratitude to all these countries, institutions, and organizations for generating these prospects, and we encourage citizens to take advantage of these opportunities. Mr. Speaker, anybody listening cannot help but admire the tremendous partnership that this Labour Party administration, under the exceptional leadership of Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit, has built and maintained with countries all over the world. Mr. Speaker, 176 students benefited from the $4.2 million, which represent the 40% student loan debt relief. The 176 beneficiaries should consider this an investment and use it well. In 2002, a tax deduction of $5,000 on students' loan was introduced. This new budget is making it possible for students to claim 100% of interest paid on students' loan. Mr. Speaker, when we say we care for all Dominicans, we mean just that, all. We are very passionate about the development and well-being of our people. A special human resource unit has been put in place to deal specifically with students' affairs, and we are currently working on an information management system and a financial assistance policy which will greatly enhance the effectiveness and efficiency in the services we offer to our students. Mr. Speaker, under the Dominica Labour Party, the education system and opportunities for education have been transformed. We will provide opportunities for our people to be trained for the numerous jobs which our investments and policies are creating in the economy. Our people will be ready to work in the jobs, the new international airport, the digital and green economy, and the geothermal projects will provide. In this regard, we will complete a review of the list of national priority areas, which is already revealing the need for more of our students to engage in science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and technical skill-based courses of study. Dominica, under this Dominica Labour Party administration, is determined to stay on course for continuous human resource development. Despite the challenges of the past year, the Dominica State College had some remarkable achievements, to include 63 of the 354 students who graduated this year obtained honors. The college achieved a 100% pass in the regional nursing exam. The college launched a distant learning smart classroom in collaboration with Rotary International, which will allow online instruction in technical education to remote campuses, beginning with Portsmouth. Mr. Speaker, technical and vocational education and training, TVET, which involves training that provides knowledge and skills for employment, is steadily gaining popularity at the global debates and government's priorities for education and development agenda. To date, a series of initiatives aimed at laying the groundwork for the establishment of the Dominica TVET Council authority and functioning have been held. The presence and relevance of the Council have significantly improved in several areas. The Council continues to do everything possible to fulfill its mandate through strategic activities also relevant to Cantor's requirement for approval of the Dominica TVET Council as a CBQ awarding body. Mr. Speaker, skills education is alive and well in Dominica. 4 students from the Goodwill Secondary School attend CBQ level 1 in garment making, and Dominica received an average pass of 97% pass in 14 TVET subjects written at CSEC. Mr. Speaker, Dominican students continue to do better than many in regional exams. 15 secondary schools submitted a total of 748 students, and 305 private students wrote the 2019 CSEC exams. Dominica's overall performance at CSEC exam was 84.73%, which was a 9.98% above the regional average. We performed above the regional average in 25 out of the 33 CSEC subjects attempted. 82.4% of our students attained competence and above in the 2019 CC SLC exams. Some of our students were featured on CXC 2020 merit list. At CSEC level, Kyra F. Edwards of the Convent High School was ranked number 1 in additional mathematics, number 2 in principles of business, and number 5 in biology. Noah Alfred of the Dominica Grammar School, number 10 in principles of business. And Cindy Henry of the Pierre Charles Secondary School, number 1 in textile, clothing, and fashion. At CCSLC level, from the Portsmouth Secondary School, Alicia Walter, number 7 in English, and Kalisa Daphne George, number 1 in mathematics. From the Pierre Charles Secondary School in French, Xavier Michel, number 2, Olana Marisa Roye Mitchell, number 4, Brittany Dennis and Chanel St. Louis at number 8. We congratulate all our students on their achievements. Mr. Speaker, this government understands that early childhood is more than learning basic skills. It's a time when children learn critical, social, and emotional skills. 2,665,676.22 was spent on paying subvention to 95 early childhood centers and the Roving Caregivers Program. Early childhood development seminars were facilitated with emphasis on child abuse prevention, teacher training, online learning, and COVID-19 issues. As we move closer to achieving universal early childhood education, the Early Childhood Policy will be revisited to regulate and standardize crucial components of the program as part of the reform. Mr. Speaker, research has shown that children with special educational needs who are in inclusive classes are absent less often, and they develop stronger skills in all areas. To ensure that all our children succeed, special emphasis is being placed on special education. We are pleased to report that we now have special needs students in the normal classrooms from preschool up to college level. Mr. Speaker, the library service provides safe spaces for vulnerable groups within the population, information and research, support, and leisure reading for all citizens. These services include internet access, information, and literacy skills to over 3,000 users, and technical support to rebuilding more sustainable library services at schools and at districts. The Dominica Library and Information Service, in partnership with American Corner Dominica, provided the necessary, timely, and relevant support in descriptive and creative writing techniques to grade 6 students preparing for the grade 6 national assessment. This program will be extended to secondary schools from 5 students in the new year. As we move into the reformation of the Ministry of Education, Human Resource Planning, Vocational Training, and National Excellence, to reflect the vision of a new season of development in dynamic Dominica, we pay special attention in preparing our students to be productive adults. Mr. Speaker, the draft civics curriculum, which includes topics on patriotism, the Constitution of Dominica, leadership, and nationhood, will be reviewed and piloted during the new school year. Under the reformation, the curriculum will include life skills, parenting, and financial management modules to provide our students with psychosocial and financial competencies to help them become self-sufficient adults. We are grateful to Global Partnership for Education Fund for approving US $2.5 million under the OECS Educational Sector Program, implementing grant for educational programs in enhancing quality and equity of access to early childhood development and special needs services, curriculum and assessment, leadership and management, program management, institutional strengthening, monitoring, and evaluation. We are in the process of finalizing plans for the implementation of our professional development and communication policies as part of improving governance and the quality of our services. Mr. Speaker, I pause. I drink a little water. Because I pause to highly commend our teachers and principals for the tremendous job they are doing, sometimes under constraints. And I say to them, in this time of education reform in Dominica, your best times are ahead. Thank you graciously for your patience and continue to do your best. Despite all our challenges, I say to you sincerely, we are moving ahead with you as our priority. Your government, your ministry, and more so, your minister, understand it all too well, and we pledge our continued support and commitment to make life better for you, our valued principals and teachers. In an effort to ensure job security for our teachers and principals, and to honor the commitment made in our manifesto, 50 teachers and 4 principals have been appointed. This government has for several years challenged the public service to give priority to the continued modernization of its administrative structures, systems, and processes. We have also been of the view that every effort should be made towards creating a more productive service. Mr. Speaker, education has evolved rapidly over the past decades. Secondary schools, for example, have moved from student populations of under 100 in the 1950s to over 800 in 2021. Modern education systems call for robust management, supervision, and support structures within schools. The current school-level organization structure lacks a clear career path and provides limited opportunities for middle management and teacher leadership. Currently, a small stipend is given to teachers who are chosen to be deputy principals or head of department at secondary schools. Since these positions are not established, there are no job descriptions, and consequently, roles and responsibilities vary from school to school. One of the major challenges with the structure which exists was generally related to availability of vacant positions within the system. Besides yearly increments for permanent appointed teachers, there were no established reward for improved performance or increases in the function of teachers. The teaching profession is one of the most common and important professions in Dominica. Our economy requires competent teaching professionals to propel the vision and mission of institutions that form the backbone of the economy. However, the present structure creates conditions where good classroom teachers attempted to express interest in areas of limited competencies for increased remuneration, recognition, and upward mobility. Notwithstanding advances made in teacher professional development, the current structure results in high staff turnover and therefore minimal progress in enhancing the proportion of trained staff within the education system. This phenomenon has the potential to adversely affect students' output and consequently the continued efficiency of the education system. Additionally, with the current dispensation, there are limited structures to aid efficiency and quality assurance to increase teacher motivation. Mr. Speaker, a teacher works goes beyond the classroom. Our teachers need job satisfaction. It is within this context that the government will implement a new organization structure as of September 1, 2021. This new structure includes new and upgraded positions for government secondary school as follows: upgrade of 7 principals and the creation of the following position for government secondary schools: 15 deputy principals, 7 assistant principals, 87 heads of department, 28 senior graduate teachers, 70 senior qualified teachers, and 16 counselors. Mr. Speaker, the structure is premised on the need to maximize the use of existing human resources while concurrently providing an acceptable structure for staff mobility. Highlighted are the importance of the functions of officers at various levels, as well as maximizing the skills of staff in areas where they can perform best. Professional growth is promoted and opportunities are provided for teachers to advance in responsibility and compensation, while also allowing them to make significant contribution within the school without having to give up their teaching functions. Additionally, responsibilities include areas of curriculum development, supervision, monitoring, mentoring new teachers, staff training, and student discipline, or serving as lead teachers in selected subject areas. In addition to providing upward mobility for 220 pre-secondary school teachers, the promotion of these teachers will create vacancies at graduate and qualified teachers level to allow for permanent employment for teachers who are currently temporarily employed or on program requirements. Mr. Speaker, secondary school principals are senior public officers and as such, they will receive a basic travel allowance. This decision reflects this government commitment to provide a better deal to our teachers and principals and create a public service that promotes professional growth. It is also in an effort to improve the quality of teaching and learning. A complete review will also be done of the present structure of our primary schools. Mr. Speaker, we will maintain our commitment to permanent employment within the teaching service. Because of the creation of these positions, Cabinet has approved an increase in the budgetary allocation for salaries to the Ministry of Education in the amount of $1,296,873.84 annually. Mr. Speaker, I promised my teachers that I would not forget them, and I plan to keep that promise. We are also reviewing some measures aimed at improving working conditions at our schools. Mr. Speaker, the Ministry of Education, Human Resource Planning, Vocational Training and National Excellence continues to provide for the vulnerable students in the system through its safety net program. 737 students benefited from school transfer fees at the cost of $368,500. 189 students were assisted with payment of CSEC examination fees at the cost of $41,819.50. 44 students received transportation allowance at the cost of $21,000. 5,700 students received uniform and school supplies at the cost of $1,315,395.28. 128 students were assisted with payment of school fees and registration fees at $44,645. 2,315 students are transported to school at the cost of $1,779,895. 2,035 students from 38 schools benefited from the school feeding program at the cost of $1,351,940.79 for food, and that is imported food, because usually community people supply local foods, and more than $31,900 was paid to cooks under the NEP. In January 2021, a nutritionist was added to strengthen this department and to assist in the implementation of the school nutrition policy. Mr. Speaker, data has shown that these safety nets have contributed immensely to improve students' attendance and performance. This government will ensure that all our safety net programs continue. Mr. Speaker, research has shown that integrating technology in the classroom at the earliest possible stage will help to engage students with all their learning, whatever the subjects, and familiarize them sooner to the increasing digital nature of work. Therefore, all schools in Dominica have internet access. All primary schools currently have devices available for teaching and learning. Devices were accessed through the government of Dominica. IT for Dominica Foundation also distributed 3,000 Chromebooks, cases to secure the devices, 16 projectors, Wi-Fi access points for classrooms and network switches to our schools. These projects were valued as US $400,000. UNICEF, as a response to COVID-19 pandemic, supplied 66 Chromebooks at the cost of TT $136,419.36 TT dollars. Rubis donated 40 tablets to Goodwill Primary School. Israel Ed worked with the ministry to introduce grade 5 and 6 teachers to a platform for mathematics instruction using tablets. 4 schools were introduced to the platform as a pilot project. 50 tablets were distributed to the schools and 200 students were targeted. The main purpose for this project is to improve problem solving and logical reasoning and to increase competency levels of primary school students approaching complex situations in other areas. Except for one private secondary school, all computer labs at secondary schools are equipped with computers. The government of Dominica wide area network has been completed and schools have access to higher bandwidth and more stable internet services. Digicel will continue to build internet capacity, especially at secondary schools. As we continue to access and distribute devices for use by students and teachers, 800 tablets will be distributed to primary school students in the new school year. Through the Strong Body, Strong Mind, a program which is carried out in partnership with the United Way of Trinidad and Tobago, the National Youth Council and CREED recently joined forces with J.R. Stephens and Company Limited to establish a computer lab for the Atkinson Primary School. Focus will remain on increasing one-on-one access and availability of internet at all schools in all classrooms. The Ministry of Education, with support from Israel Aid, UNESCO, UNICEF, and IT for Dominica Foundation, provided training for all teachers and officers to ensure efficiency and effectiveness in blended learning. To increase focus on science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, training was conducted in online robotics, online and blended learning. Mr. Speaker, COVID-19 allowed for an analysis of the national education system, not just the online platform. We understand that technology drives activities all over the world. Technology is the key to productivity, efficiency, and competitiveness in the global economy. Our students must be ready. Our citizens must not be left behind. Therefore, we continue special training to meet the needs of our teachers, principals, officers, parents, and students to ensure that stakeholders within the education sector have the skill set needed for the 21st century and beyond. Training will continue for primary school teachers on how to use mobile-type devices in the classroom, eliminating the need to set up computer labs at primary schools. This approach is more cost-effective and appealing for use at this level. Mr. Speaker, under the education reform exercise, we will continue the curriculum review as we update the goals of education to prepare our students for the artificial intelligence era. Our aim is to ensure that teaching is modernized along society's changing needs. Focus will be placed on how to go beyond the test and develop assessment that gauge students' critical thinking, analytic skills, and problem solving. The goals of this government is to deliver both core subject knowledge and new digital skills in ways that are more engaging for our students and to make what is learned in the classroom applicable outside of the classroom. Work will continue on an ICT policy which will guide our curriculum aim to teach our students to be responsible global digital citizens who are adaptable and can communicate confidently using technology. In the new year, Dalis, Monjon, Will Strathmore, Salisbury, and Grand Bay primary schools will be outfitted with smart classrooms. Funding for the equipment for these 5 schools will be from the Dominica Climate Resilience and Restoration Project, funded by the Government of Canada through CDB. Final measures are being put in place to roll out the Learn Where You Are program. E-classrooms and online classes will be delivered. Students and adults will not have to travel no long distances to sit in physical classrooms, but they will utilize technology to obtain quality education and training right in their communities. Maintenance and restoration projects. The ministry continues to maintain school plans to improve quality and efficiency by maintaining an enabling environment. Repair works include UNDP through GEF funding, the installation of solar power units at Portsmouth and the Isaiah Thomas secondary schools. Work was done at the temporary location of the W.S. Stevens Primary School to improve washroom, office space, and security. Office space was prepared at our building in Bath Estate for the nutritionists and officers in early childhood units. Minor works were done at numerous schools to include installation of blackboards, hand washing station, plumbing, and electricity. All the above at the total cost of $2,309,319.24. Repair work is ongoing at the Dominica Teachers College building at the cost of $597,471.72. Work is expected to complete and the building should be ready for use in the new school year. The Ministry of Education continues to increase access to quality facility by building on the gains achieved in the previous year. 15 projects were approved as capital projects in the 2020-2021 budget. These projects were to be undertaken by the People's Republic of China, the Government of Canada through Caribbean Development Bank, the Government of India through UNDP, Maria Holder Memorial Trust, and the Government of Dominica. To date, 2 of these projects have been completed and are in use. The Salisbury Primary School at a cost of $3,164,132.26, and the Wharton Wavern Primary School with a new early childhood center at the cost of $3,809,940.80. Maria Holder Memorial Trust contributed $2,900 to this project. Renovating works to the administrative building and the mechanical building at the Dominica State College is ongoing at the cost of $482,359.16. A further $2.5 million has been committed in this new budget for continued repairs at the Dominica State College. The Government of Canada through Caribbean Development Bank funded rehabilitation works at 4 schools. Works at Daly's at the cost of $1.86 million. The work is complete. I pause to say thank you to the teachers, parents, students, the bus drivers for the effort you made to accommodate the students from Daly's Primary at Jones Bopier Primary School during the time their school was under repair. You all were exceptional. Monjon at the cost of $1.064 million. The work is complete and the school is expected to be in use in September. Rehabilitation work at Grand Bay Primary School at the cost of $3,203,370.71 and W.S. Stevens Primary School at the cost of $2,175,450.50. Work is progressing satisfactorily at both schools, and both schools are expected to be ready early in the next year. All new and renovated schools have wheelchair access and special bathroom facilities for physically challenged students, and they also have early childhood facility centers. Work on additional free classroom block at the Cassibus Secondary School has begun. This let me say it well for the Cassibus people to hear. This $1,115,510.65 project is expected to relieve the space limitation at the school and will be completed early in 2022. The Government of the Republic of China has committed to construct and rehabilitate 6 schools. The Government of the People's Republic of China has committed to construct and rehabilitate 6 schools. A design company was contracted to work on new designs. Preliminary designs have been submitted. We are currently finalizing these designs. We have been working with the Chinese firm virtually since the COVID-19 pandemic has delayed the arrival of the teams on island. The schools are Goodwill Secondary School, Tetmon, Thibault, Kalibishi, Sineku, and Belvis-Chopé Primary Schools. 2 classroom wooden block valued at $165,000 was constructed in Sineku and is ready for use by the primary school in the interim. Maho Primary School, which is funded by the Government of Dominica, is under construction. This more than $7 million modern climate resilient school will contain room for teaching and learning, library, computer room, early childhood facilities, sick bay, cafeteria, and auditorium. The old wing at the Dominica Grammar School was demolished last year, and preliminary designs for the construction of the Dominica Grammar School complex is under review. As part of the BNTF Program 9, 3 schools benefited. Mont Prosper Primary, with the installation of fencing to enclose the school, with the security booth at the entrance of the school, installation of 2 access gates, and upgrading fencing and lighting of the hard court to the tune of $476,735.72. That project is nearing completion. The Castle Secondary Production Facility, the main components of this project are the construction of a poultry coop, a slaughterhouse, a washroom, and installation of 2 greenhouses to the tune of $632,217.90. This facility is 97% complete and should be ready for use in the new school year. The Dominica Community High School extension. The project comprised the construction of a 2-floor building to the north of the existing school building with a timber roof walkway with internal reinforcement concrete stairs and installation of external staircase, construction of concrete drain and upgrading and reshaping of earthen drains to the tune of $1,225,213.40. Work at the community high school is progressing satisfactorily. A committee is in place as consultation work continues on the design for the rehabilitation of the old library and the construction of a new modern library. Rocky Mountains Institute, a non-profit organization, is sponsoring renewable energy projects at Mount Prosper and Paybush Primary School, which include the installation and connection of solar PV plus battery storage system. In our efforts to create quality learning environments, contracts have been signed to undertake the floor works at the Coolibee Street and Caleb John Primary Schools at the cost of $130,420 and $229,968 respectively. Mr. Speaker, the Ministry will continue its construction and maintenance efforts diligently, with resilience being our watchword. The Ministry of Education remains grateful for our various partnerships with friendly organizations, countries, and donors. I thank the Director of the staff of the BNTF for their committed works. These collaborations can only result in the overall growth and development of the education system. The implementation of our donation and gift policy in the new school year will facilitate the Ministry of Education as we formalize our expressions of gratitude to all our donors. Mr. Speaker, I express my deepest gratitude and appreciation to all the officers who work with the Ministry of Education, Human Resource Planning, Vocational Training, and National Excellence for pulling together despite our challenges and limitations. Special thanks to my Permanent Secretary, Mrs. Chandler Hyacinth. I thank all Cabinet colleagues for your collaboration with the Ministry of Education to make it all happen for the people of Dominica, especially our students. Cassibruce constituency. Mr. Speaker, the people of Piditsufria, Sansobe,
minutes.
Sorry?
21.
It's good. The ministry, Mr. Speaker, the people of Piditsufria, Sansobe, Good Hope, Mopo, Deepa, Toronto, Formel, and Cassibruce proper are very grateful for the work the Labour Party government is doing in the constituency. 211 farmers and 4 fisher folks benefited from the Emergency Agricultural Livelihood Climate Resilient projects. Our farmers are making ample use of the assistance of inputs, tools, and equipment. We understand the stress of COVID-19, and we are very happy that we have begun to sell our produce again. I assure my farmers that the government of Dominica pledges to continue to give you all the support, including technical support, to ensure that you succeed. Mr. Speaker, I will remind our people that World Bank money has everything to do with the government, whether it's for housing or agriculture. The new modern cassava processing plant, which is 99% complete, came at a time when the demand for farina and cassava bread is very high. The plant costs $175,360. The 28 strong cassava farmers are very excited about this easy-to-tend crop. and a number of farmers are now growing sweet cassava, which is becoming a popular staple in our constituency. The bay oil industry in Sansovia and Petit Soufrière is rapidly growing, and I am well pleased with the number of young people who are becoming involved in this industry. We need to continue our engagements as we explore more modern ways of producing bay oil and adding value to this product. Poultry production continues to gain popularity in the constituency. Eggs are always available. I encourage our farmers to be ready to take advantage of the opportunities presented in the new budget to expand their poultry production. I am well pleased with the farmers who have submitted proposals for grants for the goat-rearing business. We are getting more business-like about agriculture, and that is a good sign. The livestock farmers continue to expand in pig and cattle rearing. The government will continue under this new budget to assist livestock farmers in fencing, animal housing, and feed. Our engagement with Stone and Compass, an organization that wants to invest in the constituency by creating an outdoor lab for organic agriculture for agricultural students abroad, is still ongoing, but COVID-19 is dealing us a blow on this one. However, we will keep this project close at hand, since it would generate a lot of income activities, and not only for constituents of Cassibrus, but of the entire Eastern District. I am sure the new international airport would make it much easier for students to travel from other countries to do practical work in a natural outdoor lab in Dominica. And yes, Cassibrus will be the ideal spot with the ideal roads. Foreign markets are opening to purchase exotic plants. The people who are growing exotic plants in Good Hope will be given technical support and support otherwise as we position ourselves to take advantage of this opportunity, which will be facilitated by the international airport. So the people from Good Hope could cut their flowers at 5 a.m., and those same flowers could be part of a centerpiece on a dinner table in Florida by 7 p.m. the same night. Yes, Lord. Yes, Lord. Things are getting better for us in the Cassibrus constituency. Mr. Speaker, I want to pause to say a heartfelt thanks to all the members of the St. David Fisheries Cooperative for your effort in ensuring that our fisher folks continue to make a decent living from fishing. I hope that the 2 scales that were presented this month are facilitating your operations. We are investigating improving the Cassibrus Bay site to construct a landing site for the fisher folks at Cassibrus. A washroom facility will be constructed as part of the improvement to the Sansovia Fisheries facility. We are very happy that our agriculture center will be repaired and upgraded in this financial year. I sincerely thank our officers for your patience and perseverance. Housing. Mr. Speaker, millions of dollars have been spent in the Cassibrus constituency in providing housing for our people. There were 95 beneficiaries under the Housing Rehabilitation Program at the cost of $802,241.96. In addition to rebuilding of homes, 4 apartment complexes were built in the constituency, providing safe homes for 124 families. 124 families don't have to suffer a panic attack when a storm warning is given because they are safe and secure. These families are overjoyed and extremely grateful to the government of the Commonwealth of Dominica. 162 windows were distributed to 48 recipients and 78 doors to 31 recipients. Where it was necessary, a team did the installation work for the families. 14 persons are qualified for homes under the World Bank Housing Recovery Program, and another 30 persons are being reviewed. Work has started on the construction of 4 new homes, and 13 other homes are being completed at the cost of more than $700,000. I thank the people of Petit Soufrière, Sansovia, Good Hope, Mopo, Deepa, Cassibrus, Proper, and Formel for your patience. However, with this Labour Party government, things can only get better because we keep our promises. We shall continue with our home renovation and sanitation program. I echo the sentiments of my leader, Honorable Rulbel Skerrit. We shall not waver in our commitment until each family in Dominica is safe in a decent home. and I may say, until each family in the Castle Bruce constituency is safe in a decent home. Health and wellness. Mr. Speaker, I have always done so, but today I want to express deepest gratitude and appreciation for the health team in the Castle Bruce district. This team works extremely well. Basic work was done at the basic repair work was done at the Castle Bruce Health Center, and work at the cost of EC $182,512.30 is being undertaken at the Sansove Health Center. I am happy that the funds which I donated to the Sansove Health Center are making work more comfortable. I am sure the chairs are also adding some comfort. Work will continue on both health centers to upgrade and improve service delivery to our people. Our men-only clinic will begin this year. Mr. Speaker, the Petit Soufrière people are very happy for the bus provided by their pal rep on Dr. Day. They no longer must walk the distance or sit by the wayside feeling unwell, praying for a ride, because serving my people is my priority. Serving the Castle Bruce constituency, that is my priority. Under the water sector strategic development plan, utilizing funds provided by the government of the United Kingdom, DUWASCO is wrapping up a feasibility study to build resilience in the water system in Castle Bruce. Mr. Speaker, $136,576.50 is spent monthly in the Castle Bruce constituency for payment of persons employed on the National Employment Program. Another $15,297.50 is spent monthly in Castle Bruce constituency for public support assistance, and $14,225 for payments to 70 and over. Mr. Speaker, the Castle Bruce constituency is not abandoned. Our government cares about us. Families continue to benefit from funeral grants, Yes We Care, medical and other programs at the Rapid Response Program. I express my gratitude on behalf of the Castle Bruce constituency for the effort this government is making to make life better for us, and I promise my constituents that they will continue to benefit from all social programs. Mr. Speaker, I want to highly commend all the young people who are engaged in sports in the constituency. Sports is on a high presently. Our players are getting sports on national teams, and we are working wonders despite our limitation. We will continue to unite our effort to access funding for upgrade of our playing field, because it is not fair for us, for two teams from Castle Bruce to be playing a match, and they must travel to Roseau, Jubla, or Portsmouth to play. So we will continue our effort to source funds to upgrade our field. We believe that with the new measures to be implemented in sports under this new budget, things will get better, not only for the players, but for our coaches who are putting in so much effort to engage the youth of the constituency in wholesome activities in sports where their energies can be properly channeled. Education. I wish to express gratitude and high commendation to all the teachers at the Sansove and Castle Bruce Primary and the Castle Bruce Secondary School. I am happy to say that all teachers at both primary schools who are qualified for appointment have been appointed. I congratulate Ms. Brittany Phillip, a teacher at the Castle Bruce Primary School, who successfully completed her teacher's education and training. The hope is that teachers at the Castle Bruce Secondary School who are qualified will receive their appointments under the revised structure for government secondary schools. I extend warmest congratulations to Mr. Jeremy Roll and Mr. Tyler Banis of the Castle Bruce Primary School, and Mr. Asap Banis, who attended Lighthouse Academy, but who is from Castle Bruce, on obtaining scholarships at the Grade 6 National Assessment. Congratulations to the 10 students from the Castle Bruce constituency who graduated from the Dominica State College. I also congratulate Ms. Michaela Roye, who received the best result at CXC last year from CBSS, 8-1s and 4-2s. Mr. Speaker, 102 secondary school students in the constituency received assistance for textbook, and 35 students were assisted with payments for exam fees. 157 primary school students benefited from the textbook scheme, while 192 benefited from the uniform program. Schools continue to provide hot meals to students, either under the lunch or breakfast program or both. 23 students receiving transfer funds, and 87 college students received transportation assistance. 23 students from the Cassibrus constituency are receiving government assistance as they pursue higher education. My students and young people can rest assured that their PAL rep, who happens to be the Minister of Education, will ensure that they benefit from the opportunities for scholarship and other opportunities by the Ministry of Education. Internet services at all schools will be further upgraded. We continue the effort to access devices for distribution in the constituency. We are still finalizing plan to make Cassibrus Secondary one of the schools at which satellite classrooms will be piloted. This will allow our people to work in the day and attend classes from the Dominica State College in the night. Mr. Speaker, with the support of Ambassador Bernice Roberts, we are in the process of creating free leisure spaces for the students in the constituency. These spaces will be furnished with books, games, projectors, computers, and other equipment to help facilitate students with after-school assignments. All schools in the constituency receive hygiene wardens to assist with COVID-19 protocols. Under the BNTF9 project, the Sansove Primary School received a power washer to assist with the school building maintenance as it is prone to constant sea blasts. Work began, we heard already, on the additional classroom at Cassibrus Secondary. The work on our BNTF project in Cassibrus is complete and we'll be using it in September. But Mr. Speaker, I'm losing sleep over the students at Sansove Primary School who have to endure that scent of that seaweed all day long. And I want to promise my parents and students that I'm brainstorming and exploring ways of addressing this issue. Our youth. Mr. Speaker, rehabilitation work at the Cassibrus Youth Center is nearing completion. We commend the 10 young men and one young lady who did the work under the building maintenance module offered by the Youth Skills Program. High commendations to our youth officer, Ms. Lilia Durand and Mrs. Nikki Darrow. Our youth in our constituency will be engaged in programs under the Youth Skill Program to encourage them to build their capacity. So far, we have 6 requests for small business grants from young people. I encourage some of our young people to register for the program in furniture building training, which is now being offered by the Youth Center. Roadworks. We thank the Ministry of Public Works for all the repair work done in the Cassibrus constituency. In the new financial year, repair work will be undertaken on the crossing over the Good Hope River by the bay to the Lapawi Road. And a wall building project is being explored for Fonblé in Petit Soufrier. We'll continue to assist farmers in repair and maintenance of feeder roads. The 2 sections of roads interior by the bayside in Cassibrus will be upgraded. Mr. Speaker, a vulnerability survey done by CREED from October to December through the Village Council assessed the physical and social organizational vulnerability of communities. Good Hope was placed number 4 out of the most vulnerable, and Petit Soufrier and Sansove number 3. Therefore, the reconstruction and opening of the Savan Jack to Tech Popon Road, which was the original route to Sansove, at the cost of $849,999.65. 800, yes, is that?
5 more minutes.
Is answer to the prayers of the constituency.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the Honorable Minister for Education be granted an additional 10 minutes to complete presentation.
It has been moved that the Honorable Minister for Education.
Second, Mr. Speaker.
It has been moved and seconded that the Minister of Education be granted an additional 10 more minutes. Those in favor? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it. You are granted an additional 10 more minutes.
Thank you graciously. Mr. Speaker, work on the Cassibrus Bay Culvert Crossing has resumed. The contract value for this project is $403,000 and the duration is 4 months. Contracts for the rehabilitation of the East Coast Road was signed. The Cassibrus constituency will benefit because $47.5 million will be spent in this constituency. The road project is benefiting everyone in the constituency. Farmers and landowners whose land had been repossessed have been paid. And I'm happy that some people from the constituency have been employed on the project, and I have been told that the numbers will increase after the groundwork is complete. In addition to all the benefits of saving time, fuel, and money in traveling, when this road construction is over, it is complete, it will be another popular route to and from the new international airport and some major tourist sites. This means increased economic activities to the Cassibrus constituency. Security and emergency. We are happy that work has resumed on the police station in Cassibrus because we need to get our officers back to their station. This project will cost $439,733. Construction work on the regional emergency shelter in Cassibrus at the cost of $16 million began a year ago, and work is nearing completion. In addition, work on a $1.5 million mini emergency operations center and warehouse in Cassibrus is also nearing completion. We are truly grateful that this Labour Party government shows that the vulnerability of this area is taken seriously and our people's safety is given priority. The BNTF-1A, in an effort to create a modern, resilient community resource center, procured the following items: a solar renewable energy system, equipment and furniture for disaster shelter and adult education, computers and air-conditioned system, kitchen upgrade to include furnishing and appliances, and search and rescue equipment and cleanup equipment at the Good Hope Resource Center at the cost of $172,000. We thank the Dominica Association of Local Authorities for repairing the Petit Superior Primary School with funds from the Japanese funds. Mr. Speaker, this hurricane season, we are safer than we have ever been in the Cassibrus constituency. And for this, the people of the Cassibrus constituency are grateful. I encourage all the people of Petit Superior, Saint-Sauveur, Good Hope, Mopo, Dipa, Toronto, and Cassibrus proper and Formel, and the entire East, to accept the employment opportunities that these projects are offering us in the constituency to gain new experiences and to improve their skills and learn new skills. When people are busy at work, there is less time to be deviant and everybody can benefit. When people are moving to work, this brings life to the area. These ongoing projects have positively impacted the economy in the Cassibrus constituency, and this in turn will improve the standard of living and the living conditions of our people. As I close, Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the people of Cassibrus, the entire Cassibrus constituency, for all their love and their present support. The churches, the schools, PTA, the Labour and Friends group, the Free Village Councils, the health team, police officers, firemen, the Cassibrus Kudme builders, the emergency COVID-19 team, the risk management team, disaster management coordinating team, all those who have made it happen for me. And I say special thanks to my husband, whom I call my love, and the rest of the family for all they do behind the scene. I extend special thanks to Mr. Johnson Drago, who has taught me so much and continues to work so hard to support me in every way. Mrs. Lauren Banis Roberts, Mr. Austin Lockhart, Mr. and Mrs. Michael Farrell, and all the others in the diaspora. I thank the Prime Minister and the Dominica Labour Party for giving me the opportunity to serve at this level. Mr. Speaker, I thank my cabinet colleagues for being a good team. We work well together. Let us be mindful always that God has called us to this position for such a time like this. Let us understand the magnitude of the work that lies ahead. Let us remember that the Dominican people are depending on us. Therefore, let us remain focused. Let others use their intelligence, their education, their resources, and all their strength to destroy, to jeer at, to criticize, and to bring down others. They shall receive their reward. But you, be encouraged, because when the comments people write about you is about your hair and what you wear, you know that you're in a much higher sphere, so there's no need to despair. Don't lose sleep. Don't lose sleep over that. Continue to lose sleep over how to solve the problem of the Dominican people. Continue to brainstorm for initiatives and innovations to make life better for people. Amid a stressed world full of adversity, Dominica is doing well. Mr. Speaker, I am fully convinced that hard work and God cannot fail. And I wholly accept the promise of Jeremiah chapter 29 and 11, verse 11 for my nation. I quote, "I know the plans I have in mind for you, declares the Lord. They are plans for peace, not disaster, to give you a future filled with hope." Yes, Mr. Speaker, we have good news. God's plan will not only outweigh our plans, it will also eliminate the plans of our enemies, because God's goal at all time is to prosper us. God did not bring us this far to leave us. So let us move ahead by faith, in wisdom, humility, and grace. God bless us all. God bless Dominica. Mr. Speaker, I support this budget 100%. I thank you.
The mic on this side. Yes, Deputy Speaker, proceed.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to give my fullest support to this 2021-2022 budget put before this Honorable House. Mr. Speaker, as the youngest member of this Honorable House, I am terribly disappointed by the behavior displayed by members of the opposition this morning. They tried to disrupt the proceedings of this House, but all they really did was once again demonstrate to the public, and the youth in particular, that they are incapable of being good examples and role models to our young people. Mr. Speaker, when I was growing up, my mother always used to tell me, be mindful of the company that you keep. Because following bad company will get you nowhere good. So, Mr. Speaker, this afternoon, I wish to offer this advice to Senator Masler and the other UWP senators so that they can check themselves and get on a better path. But, Mr. Speaker, that's all the time I'll spend on that. And let's get back to more important business. Mr. Speaker, I wish to commend the Honorable Prime Minister for yet another truly visionary, inspiring, and far-reaching budget presentation this year. This is a relatable budget from a relatable Prime Minister. I believe that our Prime Minister did so in a most eloquent manner, detailing the provisions, the programs, and the policies that will be rolled out this financial year as we take off into new realms of development. This budget, crafted under the theme Dynamic Dominica, building on our past, solidifying our present, and securing our future, clearly demonstrates that our Prime Minister has his finger on the pulse and his heart and mind on the people of this country. And he has yet again sent a clear message to all Dominicans, the region, and the world by extension, that Dominica is still moving on a path of building a dynamic Dominica, a path that I am immensely proud to support and be a part of. Mr. Speaker, here we are 1 year later, and COVID-19 is still a critical concern, taking center stage in the lives and our economy. Yet still, so much has been done. And although these are challenging times, the impact of COVID is still very real. This Dominica Labour Party government, through the incredible leadership and management of our Prime Minister, has made significant strides to our country's development. One of the biggest steps being the leap towards our biggest infrastructural project in Dominica's history, Mr. Speaker, our international airport. Mr. Speaker, although an agreement for the airport was signed in June 2021, there have been many initiatives by this government which have put us in a prime spot to take advantage of all the benefits to be derived from this international airport. I speak about the numerous upgrades to our road network island-wide, making our roads more motorable, for locals and visitors alike. The import duty and excise tax exemption on motor vehicles to be used exclusively for the transportation of visitors in Dominica, which further enhances the quality of our visitor experience. The reduction in duties and taxes on pleasure crafts, and the interventions through the CBI funding to facilitate the significant increase in Dominica's hotel room stock. Mr. Speaker, in addition to this, notwithstanding the continued effects of the pandemic, this government has acted and continues to act in the best interest of Dominica and Dominicans. This administration holds firm to the fundamental principles of helping those in need through numerous social programs and actions which touch the lives of so many. The commitment of this government further manifests itself in the support provided to those most vulnerable among us with the COVID-19 Social Cash Transfer Program. Mr. Speaker, while still on the topic of COVID, I wish to place on record not just my highest commendation, but my deepest gratitude to the Minister of Health, the entire cabinet, and all the frontline workers for continuing to do what so many other countries wish they could do: make their citizens and visitors feel safe. For making the elderly with existing medical conditions and fear of the virus feel safe. For making parents who send their children to school daily feel safe. For making individuals who travel to work via public transportation feel safe. And for making families who sought safe haven in Dominica from this dreaded virus feel comfortable and safe. Through the efforts of individuals on the ground and this Dominica Labour Party government, today we can proudly boast of having one of the lowest number of COVID cases, and we were recently recognized by the CDC as being one of the safest countries in the region and the world by extension. Mr. Speaker, often we hear young people ask the question, but what is in the budget for us? As I have mentioned last year, I take my role in this honorable house very seriously, and I feel it is my duty as the youngest member of this honorable house to highlight critical interventions made by this administration during the 2020-2021 fiscal year and access and aspects of this budget which speak to giving youth access. As I listened attentively to our Prime Minister delivering, it became clear to me that access for youth was carefully intertwined in all segments of his presentation. I'm talking about access to education, access to agriculture and trade, access to sports, access to youth programs and business, and access to the digital economy. Mr. Speaker, allow me to elaborate on these opportunities for young persons that young persons can access. Education. Mr. Speaker, this is a government which has been systematic in the development of us young people by providing access to opportunities to further one's education. This was articulated years ago when our Honorable Prime Minister made the proclamation to have one university graduate in every home. On one hand, we see this Labour government moving aggressively towards the building of necessary infrastructure, while simultaneously assisting in the training of young people through higher education in various areas. An easy example of this is the development of the Dominica China Friendship Hospital, which requires doctors, specialists, nurses, and the like. Mr. Speaker, while on the other hand, earlier this month, we witnessed several Dominicans on government scholarships graduating from universities in Cuba as medical doctors. Doctors who will access opportunities at the DCFH. The same can be said about the geothermal plant and the international airport, which will require persons with specialized skills to work. Mr. Speaker, it's evident that this is a government that is working. It is evident that this plan is working. And no matter how the opposition tries to distract and deflect, the work will not stop. The work will never stop. Furthermore, Mr. Speaker, when you walk through the various ministries, you see a cadre of young professionals, young technical officers, and even young people who hold management positions. And when you ask them, how did they get there? For many of them, it is because their government stepped in and provided the much needed assistance to cover the cost of tertiary education. Rest assured that with the budget allocation for students to access university education under this Dominica Labour Party government, this will continue. This government will continue to encourage our youth to reach their full potential and make them well equipped to help build and take advantage of our dynamic Dominica. Mr. Speaker, while on the topic of education, I wish to mention this extraordinary policy decision which took effect last year, which is the 40% loan reduction, student loan reduction. This is yet another addition to the seemingly endless list of promises made and promises kept by this Dominica Labour Party government. This is indeed a timely intervention by this government with many benefits to follow in both the short and long term. Mr. Speaker, everyone in this honorable house can agree that the cost of university education, no matter which way you cut it, is steep and acts as a barrier to entry for many young people. Student debt has quickly become a growing economic problem given the rising cost of tuition and other fees. Interestingly, just this past Sunday, on a podcast hosted by the Mask 7, that's Dominicans, they discussed tertiary education and whether it is the key to success or a deadlock in debt. Thus, reiterating that these are very real and current issues affecting young people. Mr. Speaker, with this massive chunk of student debt waived for so many, this will allow for students to wrap up payments on their student loans much quicker, which will in turn free up money from student loan borrowers to spend in the economy. This could lead to increased small business formation and the investment in their communities. This could also lead to an increased ability for persons to save. Mr. Speaker, I wish to echo a key financial tip which our Prime Minister has said repeatedly, and I personally have used as a guiding principle, which is money wasn't made to be spent, it was made to be managed. So the increased disposable income that students will realize in the future, it is for them to use wisely. Moreover, Mr. Speaker, the cost associated with student debt is further tackled in a very creative way in this year's budget with the increase in student loan interest deduction. Mr. Speaker, with these tax deductions, this means that more money will remain with students and their families effective July 2022. As the Honorable Prime Minister has mentioned, this will have far-reaching effects, and I know many of us are looking forward to this measure. Mr. Speaker, I turn to agriculture and trade. Mr. Speaker, when I think about agriculture in Dominica, there's a bubbling enthusiasm from our youth in relation to this sector. Coupled with this bubbling enthusiasm is the commitment of this Dominica Labour Party government to the sustainable development of the agricultural sector, given the potential for job creation and the improvement of livelihoods, among others. There's also great opportunities for export, and for this reason, this government has embarked on a national farm certification program called DOMGAP, which certifies agricultural products, farms, farm workers, processes, and systems against internationally recognized fresh produce standards. Currently, the Bureau of Standards is working with over 150 farmers to get them DOMGAP certified. Out of this total, just under 20 of these farmers are young farmers, Mr. Speaker. Young farmers who will reap the benefits of DOMGAP certification, which include greater access to regional and international markets, increased earnings due to the potential increase in demand for fresh produce, and enhanced competitive edge in the market. Now, Mr. Speaker, one can only imagine how these benefits will triple or even quadruple with the development of our international airport. Mr. Speaker, this line of thinking is supported by a report from the ICAO on the economic benefits of air transport, which states, and I quote, "One of air transport's most important economic benefits is its spin-off effects on international trade." It goes on to say, it increases global reach of companies, enabling them to get products to market more quickly and allows them to be more responsive to customer needs. Mr. Speaker, I turn to sports. Through the interventions of this DLP administration, we continue to see a growing resurgence in sports throughout the length and breadth of Dominica. This is a government that has always seen sports as an avenue to channel youth to positive outlets, as evidenced by the numerous playing fields developed, the rehabilitation and upgrading of the said playing fields, the construction of the Windsor Park Stadium, and many other projects and initiatives. In this last financial year, we witnessed the development of sports in Dominica climb to higher heights, with the completion of the new stadium forecourt, which so far has hosted nail-biting, exhilarating netball and basketball games. Mr. Speaker, this is what you call money well spent. Mr. Speaker, the overall budget allocation of over $7.3 million to the Ministry of Sports, Culture, and Community Development demonstrates this government's commitment to the furtherance of sports and sporting facilities for all Dominicans. We look forward to the Massac Sports Complex. We look forward to the continued rehabilitation of playing fields, and we look forward to the access to be provided to young people in sports by the National Sports Council. Mr. Speaker, it would be remiss of me not to mention and commend the Honorable Melissa Poppon-Skerritt for championing much of these sporting activities in Roseau Central. Her hard work is not only evident in sports, but through the entire constituency as we continue to see the city transform right before our very eyes. I remember last year when she spoke about the soon-to-be open promenade. Soon after, we saw the promenade come alive and is now one of the hottest places in Dominica. Yes, while the party and the nice vibe, which myself and others enjoy, is all well and good, but one must never underestimate the serious economic benefits to farmers, to bakers, vendors, and the like. Moreover, the boost to Dominica's nightlife must be mentioned, as it is to be enjoyed by both locals and travelers who will land on the tarmac of our international airport. DYBT and youth development. The Ministry of Youth.
10 more minutes. 10.
The Ministry of Youth Development and Empowerment.
I move the member a further 10 minutes to complete his presentation.
It has been moved and seconded that Honorable Senator Philip will receive an additional 10 minutes. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. You have an additional 10 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Ministry of Youth Development and Empowerment, spearheaded by the Honorable Minister, Dr. Alice King, continues to invest heavily in the development of young people. Mr. Speaker, it baffles me when I hear individuals attempt to make it seem like nothing is happening. But, Mr. Speaker, this is definitely not the case. How can you say that nothing is happening for young people in this country when in just March of this year, we saw the graduation of over 100 trainees from various training programs hosted by the Youth Skills Training Program? Mr. Speaker, this is an additional 100+ young people who have now ascertained skills which will increase their employability. With the budget allocation of over $1.4 million, we will continue to see young people have access to skills training programs. Mr. Speaker, this is a government which is keen on creating new job opportunities while also training youth to access employment. Look at the rapidly growing hotel room stock as a result of government intervention. Recognizing this and the need for quality staffing, this Labour Party administration, through the Skills Training Program, will be hosting a hospitality arts module in Portsmouth in September 2021. Mr. Speaker, this is development, this is empowerment, and this is a hard-working and focused government. Mr. Speaker, I turn my attention to the Dominica Youth Business Trust. During the last financial year, the DYBT trained over 70 entrepreneurs under its various programs and has expanded its services to include webinars and virtual workshops. To ensure that the training programs impact more and more Dominicans, the DYBT has once again set out to undertake a community outreach of its flagship program. Mr. Speaker, as we speak, this evening, over 40 entrepreneurs have accessed and will complete a program in entrepreneurial development on the West Coast at the recently completed, modern, comfortable, spacious Layu Emergency Shelter. Mr. Speaker, this is real, tangible access. With a budget allocation of over $140,000, the Dominican public will see a continuation of programs like these, reaching out and touching young entrepreneurs in out districts across the island. Actually, in as early as September, the Trust will be hosting another community outreach program in the Southeast. The Trust is also actively pursuing the development of a hub of entrepreneurial support. dubbed D-Hub, which will provide support physically through the housing of a tool library, rotational production area for agro-processing and manufacturing, and space for craft, as well as virtually through various e-learning tools and resources. This government continues to provide technical support to the trust on this endeavor. Small business development. Mr. Speaker, this government's sustained efforts to bolster our MSME sector does not go unnoticed. Just last year, in this honorable House, we passed legislation to remove VAT and import duties on packaging and labeling materials, as well as equipment and machinery used in the production of goods. This was a permanent and deliberate action taken by this government to make manufacturing more accessible, more profitable, and products more competitive on the market. In addition to this, early this year, the Ministry of Tourism, through the Small Business Unit, launched a small business grants program targeting manufacturers, agro-processors, and the like. Once again, Mr. Speaker, providing access for grant financing to entrepreneurs. Mr. Speaker, just yesterday, we heard our Honorable Prime Minister make mention of an additional $33 million to be placed at the Aid Bank for unlending to MSMEs at a concessionary rate of just 3.5%. Mr. Speaker, this interest rate will serve as an incentive to borrow. It also means lower monthly installments, which means a reduction in expense and the overall positive impact to a company's bottom line. Mr. Speaker, the pronouncement by our Honorable Prime Minister further strengthens this government's role as a facilitator for a conducive business environment. It would be remiss of me not to mention the opportunities for businesses to be derived from the Kalinago Development Fund for our young people in the Kalinago territory. Once again, Mr. Speaker, providing unprecedented access to financing of small business ventures for people in the Kalinago territory. But, Mr. Speaker, we all know that all the money in the world will not make businesses grow. The technical support and business knowledge is equally, if not more important, to the growth and development of small businesses on island. The access to technical support from the soon-to-be revamped Small Business Unit will boost our country's efforts towards small business development. This is all with the overarching aim of preparing our MSMEs to access markets and other opportunities that this international airport will bring. Mr. Speaker, the Work Online program by the Ministry of Public Works and the Digital Economy provides access primarily for youth to gain non-traditional forms of employment. Remote work has no geographical boundaries and offers possibility for a wide range of skills and talents. I can proudly say that a recently launched company, CheckWe, owned by two young Dominicans in the name of Mr. Ronald Abraham Jr. and Mr. Daniel Fidel, is providing a necessary platform and a marketplace for this type of work. Mr. Speaker, we also see the launch of the ECCB's Dcash as part of the digital economy. This will no doubt increase transactions, providing greater access to sales opportunities, local and export, for safer and cheaper cross-border person-to-person remittances. Lastly, I must also mention the opportunities created in this budget for the youth to access housing. Our Prime Minister has put in place a further allocation for grants to encourage home ownership. As I close, Mr. Speaker, we still need to be mindful of the COVID-19 virus and adhere to the protocols. I also want to take this opportunity to encourage young people in particular to get vaccinated. I said it last year, and I will say so again. The future is bright for our youth, Mr. Speaker, with the many opportunities to elevate our youth. And it will forever be bright under this Dominica Labour Party government. In the words of the late, great Nipsey Hussle, the marathon continues. And so too does the work of this government. With a continued focus on the people, in particular the youth of this country, we prepare to jet set into our new Dominica, our dynamic Dominica. I encourage all young persons to access the many opportunities being made available to them. To the Honorable Prime Minister and your cabinet, on behalf of the youth of Dominica, I say thank you for access and opportunity. I once again pledge my total support to this budget. May God continue to bless and protect you, Prime Minister, your cabinet, and the people of Dominica, especially during this hurricane season. I thank you.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to give my unwavering support to this 2021-2022 budget debate. Mr. Speaker, I do not envy my task, having to speak after Senator Philip Roll. And Mr. Speaker, if anybody had any doubt as to how great Labour is, they just seen what the product of Labour. A young 25-year-old gentleman who, by his age, would have taken all his school under Labour, and see what it turned out to be. Labour is truly great for this country. Mr. Speaker, before I go any further, I would like to sympathize with the family and friends and Labourites as well in the Salisbury constituency on the sudden passing of our champion, foot soldier, and Labour fanatic, Yuta Toulon. I want to place on record to her children, who she left behind, to say to them that once I'm here, I will ensure that they are taken care of. And I've already spoken to the Honorable Prime Minister and the leader of the Dominica Labour Party, and he has given me his assurance that we will take care of you. So we condone with you, we sympathize with you in this, your time of need, on the passing of your mother, sister, auntie, and so on. And we, the Dominica Labour Party, will be there for you because your mother was there for the Dominica Labour Party. Mr. Speaker, there's no need to repeat it, but I will. I know I'm not the elected PAL rep for the Salisbury constituency, but at this budget debate, I cannot make the opportunity pass by not highlighting all the good things that the Dominica Labour Party has done for the Salisbury constituency and by extension the people of the Salisbury constituency. And I will take time off to name them one by one. On the education, Mr. Speaker, we have assisted and is assisting 13 young men and women from the Salisbury constituency to complete their studies at universities, Mr. Speaker. We have on the issue of feeder roads, because we constantly hear the Member of Parliament come here and give the impression that we have done nothing for feeder roads. Let me place on record, Mr. Speaker, that from election to today, the only feeder road in Dominica that has seen any works done on it is the Salisbury feeder road. And let me assure the farmers of the Salisbury-Cahome area that there's an area which needs critical intervention, that is to say, Mon. And I have gotten the assurance from the Prime Minister that in this budgetary year or cycle, work will be done on the Mon Road. I'll speak more to feeder roads, but I just make this intervention right now on the Salisbury. Mr. Speaker, in terms of school, Salisbury was the first school, I wouldn't refer to it as repaired, no? the first school built after Hurricane Maria in an area where we did not win. Honorable Ed Regis has a school in Tetmo that was completely destroyed. The Prime Minister himself had a school in Tibo that was completely destroyed. But the decision was taken to fix first, rebuild the Salisbury Primary School. And when you pass there, it is an edifice to behold. And good work is being done in Salisbury. Mr. Speaker, under the National Employment Program, we have over 35 interns in the Salisbury constituency. And I recall maybe the last sitting where the Member of Parliament was ridiculing the people who works on the NEP. He said when they complete their work on the NEP, they will get a certificate in raking. Let me just reassure the Member of Parliament for Salisbury that we have varying degrees of people working under the NEP. We have people with master's degree working in various areas, and some from the Salisbury constituency too. There are people with BScs, and there are people, for instance, at the schools teaching. We call them education mentors. And the Salisbury constituency continue to benefit from all of these. And we have the aspect called cleanup and beautification, for which the Salisbury constituency has 4 teams working and cleaning the highway. And when you pass along the Salisbury, Kulibistri and Monwachet highway there, you will see the NEPD at work. And I think they are very grateful. They pay their rent, some of them. They feed their children out of that. And I can say to the Prime Minister, they say to you, thank you for giving them the opportunity to provide for themselves and their families. And that's what we continue to do for the people of the Salisbury constituency, notwithstanding we did not win. Mr. Speaker, laptops, we distributed 45 laptops to most of the 4th and 5th formers in the Salisbury constituency. We continue to assist the needy and elderly with care packages. The last distribution, we saw over 120 people who need these packages, receiving these packages, not along party line, but along need. We continue to assist people in housing in the Salisbury constituency as we speak. We are currently completing 4 homes, which we started for the families so that they can move in quickly before, we are in the hurricane season, but before we get to the peak of the hurricane season, we expect to have these people in their homes. The hotel, Tranquility Hotel, is moving along speedily. And from my home, I can see the top of it now. Before I wouldn't see anything. And work is ongoing there. And we have a number of people from this Salisbury constituency. The last time I checked, there were 19 actually, people from the Salisbury constituency currently employed in the construction of the Tranquility Hotel. Mr. Speaker, we just saw work being completed, repair work being completed on the Salisbury Health Center. And I want to mention that because in the past too, we've heard the PAL rep come there and give the impression that we pay no attention to the health center. And I want to place on record that 2 months ago, we completed repair works to the Salisbury Health Center, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, leaving the Salisbury constituency and going to the budget, we all know how eloquent the Prime Minister is and how caring he is. And I don't even want to go into his presentation itself, except to say that what I have noticed over the years is that when the Prime Minister presents, when the Minister of Finance by extension presents his budget, it's not a budget based on what he thinks, but it's a budget based on his meeting with the people on the ground. So he goes to the constituency and people visit him at his office and he listens to them. And out of listening to the people and visiting the people, he develops this budget every year. And when he presents this budget, almost everybody in the country can identify with at least one measure. And you heard him say it himself. For instance, even Senator Riviere mentioned it, where he spoke of the invalidity pension that people receive from the Social Security. Look, he raised it from 202 to 303 because a lady visited him. And so you can see when the Prime Minister is taking time to present the budget and to put measures in the budget, it's not of his imagination, but out of the people, the measures comes from the people, and that's why the people are always very appreciative, and that is why the Labour Party will remain in office for as long as it is possible, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, on the budget still, I took particular note of the fact that a budget is being presented, and a budget is estimates for the next year, well, the new financial year to be spent. And I note carefully that budgets are not presented by countries, even big countries, without aspects of loans. This one has an aspect of loan, but I note that the aspect of grant funding is a greater figure. That is to say, we expect to spend more money in this budgetary year from grants than loans, Mr. Speaker. And for me, I find that very significant. It speaks to the level of leadership that the country has. It speaks to the commitment that the Prime Minister has and the way he's able to get friends of Dominica to participate in the development of Dominica by giving Dominica money to help in its development. So much so that we expect to get more monies by way of grant than by way of loan, Mr. Speaker. And I find that's very significant in the country's development, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the much talked about agriculture, and I work with the Minister of Agriculture and in the Ministry of Agriculture. And I want to go back a bit because we had Erica in 2015 and Maria in 2017, and we've been, for the last year, we've been under COVID. And most people who will speak in the present of COVID and forgetting what we were dealt with by Erica and Maria. And I'll go back to Maria when we speak of agriculture. And the frost in agriculture started after Maria, Mr. Speaker. And we gave farmers $18.9 million to restore themselves, $10,000 and $3,000 grant. And when we hear people say we do nothing for agriculture, that's the first time, not even wind ban. And you young, Mr. Speaker, you wouldn't recall wind ban, but a student of history like Mr. Honorable Douglas would tell you, wind ban was an insurance scheme for banana farmers. When we had wind, they would send out assessors and they would track the damages of your farm and they would pay you compensation for crop damages, banana crop compensation. And not even wind ban would ever pay out that amount of money. And the Prime Minister went with wet shoes, wet clothes to the UN, and in the same process he negotiated with the World Bank. And Honorable Alfred mentioned that earlier, that some people give the impression that World Bank saw Dominica and came and just said, look, money. No, these monies were carefully negotiated for on behalf of the people of Dominica by the Prime Minister. And he's not the only Prime Minister who have gone to agencies to negotiate and they come back with nothing. But because he's skillful. You see, for me, I've always said that. You see things happen and you're not sure, but I think Roosevelt's carrot was given to Dominica by God. A divine intervention, you call that. And the fact that he was given to us by God, when he goes to an area, he goes with God with him. So when he's in front of the people at World Bank negotiating, they have no choice to do the work of God and release the money to Dominica. And that's what we have happening in agriculture. So we gave farmers $18.9 million. And the members of the opposition, may their soul rest in peace, politically that is, knew they had nothing to rebut to this budget, so they concocted a plan to walk out. It's not nothing about time or anyway, because and I want to press on record for the people listening that the leader of the opposition and parliamentary representative for the Marigot constituency had his time to present. He had leader of the parliamentary opposition, Lennox Linton. He could stand up and present on that budget there anytime he wanted. He just would not have gotten the 2.5 hours, but he would have gotten his 30 minutes as a member of parliament. So I want the record to show that. So he may go out there and give the impression that he did not have a time to present. He could have presented anytime he wanted in this parliamentary budget debate. Yes, he can still present as a matter of fact. Yeah. But I don't blame them, Mr. Speaker, because when you sit here and you saw what was presented in the budget, and I will speak to the international airport in closing, Mr. Speaker. What can you rebut about? What is it is there to rebut? Nothing, so they concocted a plan to create mayhem and to walk out eventually. No problem. But I mention them because even the member for Rosenhoff was on radio saying we do nothing for agriculture. Mr. Speaker, I'm not old, I'm old enough, I'm 45, and I pay attention to things because I was like politics from a young age. That's the first government I've seen actually paid attention to agriculture. Not speak, but don't think. For example, after giving the farmers $18.9 million by way of cash grants, there's a further $43 million to be spent, and it's being spent on farmers in Dominica, you know. And you heard Honorable Alfred spoke of 200 and something people in her constituency who benefiting under the World Bank program. The exact or similar figure is being benefited by people from the farmers from the Salisbury constituency. When we gave out the grant, there were 69 farmers from the Salisbury constituency who got $10,000 grant. That's $690,000. And there were 209 farmers who got $3,000. So over $1 million was spent from that $18.9 million in the Salisbury constituency alone. But many times you would have sat here and listened to the member for Salisbury and say, people didn't get money. There was no legitimate farmer. Wrong, Dominica. And I can say that with no fear of contradiction. Every single legitimate farmer in Dominica received monies from that grant. And anybody you hear make noise, they do not know farmer. They may have been landowners or a Haitian working their land or something like that. But all legitimate farmers receive money from that cash grant. And under the World Bank program, I said it already, we have $43 million being spent out. People receive chicks, poultry farmers receive chicks, fishermen receive engine, and the minister will speak more to that, about the boat building and so on. And we continue to give farmers mist blowers, knapsacks, chainsaws, fertilizer, and don't talk about the technical aspect of it. And I must appeal to the farmers. I know many of you keep claiming that you've been farming for long, but there are new technologies, and open your eyes and your ears to adopt to them so you can have better production in your farming. So that's my advice to you, the farmers. And sometimes they're reluctant, Mr. Speaker, because they feel I've been farming for the last 30 years. But there are new techniques, and everything is evolving, and you should pay attention to the new techniques that are being out there for your improvement of your farming, to make your work easier, including the machinery that is being given out to you from the World Bank program, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, on the feeder roads, we have $11.3 million that we're going to use solely for the improvement of feeder roads. And we have $5 million that we're going to use to fix the Middle Ridge Road in Kalibishi, member for Pebush. And we're going to do some work, Mr. Minister of Agriculture, on the Mango Gutter Road. And Atlee, member for St. Joseph. And for the farmers of Monrachet, we will do some work there on the road there. And we'll do some in Makato there for the member for Grand Bay. And the member for the Monjon constituency. You have a short road there with maximum production. Your name is on the list there under that $11 million. And in Kent, where are you? La Plaine, you will see some work there on that road there. Go on Riviere. These are the things we're going to do in this budgetary year, and you hear people talk about nothing is happening. Mr. Speaker, you know what I'll do? We'll take pictures of all these roads and we'll put them on GIS. And what we'll take the before picture to show that the road, that's the condition of the road before. Actually, we have them. And we'll put the after, so nobody can say nothing is happening. A lot is happening on agriculture. A lot is happening. And the Prime Minister keep negotiating on the behalf of the people of Dominica to improve their roads. And I see the member for Mahu is looking at me, Mr. Pal Rep for Maho, you will get your fertilizer for your farmers of Wana very soon, because we're expecting a consignment of of a gift of fertilizer. Mr. Speaker, about 3 months ago, we completed distribution of 4,000 bags of fertilizer, 110 pounds island-wide. All these are things we're doing for agriculture and in agriculture, Mr. Speaker. And then you hear people come there and talk about nothing is happening. You heard the Prime Minister deliberate on the plans to improve marketing for farmers. When people were under lockdown, we distributed seedlings and we made a whole set of new farmers out of by simply distributed seedlings. And you hear the member for Roseau North comes here and say we're just repeating things. These are tangible things. The people benefited from it. They meet me, they say thank you. People who never knew how to grow things telling me they now have cucumbers in the backyard. That is what the Labour Party is doing in agriculture. And even in this hard COVID time, Mr. Speaker, the only problem I have, and I have to speak to the Minister of Trade privately, to say to him that he needs to get his officers to record correctly the export of agricultural produce out of Dominica. And that's our problem. Because, for instance, on Wednesday, for instance, at the Kenfield Airport, there's a plane which picks up load. You know, people, Dr. King from St. Joseph, on the airstrip, and shipped to St. Thomas. Peppers, eggplants, avocados, plantain, but there's no record of these. And that's our problem. And why say on that? I have a problem too, you know. We, the Dominica Labour Party, we have a serious problem. And that problem is we do so many things and we don't speak of it. There are weeks that we all go to functions. And in 1 week, we would have attended 3 functions, you know. Opening of this, groundbreaking of this. And after we groundbreaking in about 3-4 months, depending on what, we go back to open it. And the only time we speak of it is when it is happening.
Honourable Member?
Yes, sir?
You have 10 more minutes.
Yes, no problem.
Speaker, I move that the Honourable Senator be given an additional 10 minutes to complete his presentation.
Second, Mr. Speaker.
It has been moved and seconded that the Honourable Senator be given an additional 10 minutes. Those in favour? Aye. Those against?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And you know, and that's our problem in Labour Party. We do so much and we speak of it so little. And I want to admonish, especially the members of cabinet, can we please speak and highlight all the good works that we are doing for the development of the people of Dominica, so that the opposition or the elements of them cannot be there saying that we did nothing. There is still. Mr. Speaker, I want to touch briefly on housing, because housing is one of the fundamentals of a society. And I'm not a pastor, but I understand the work of God. And housing is one of the things that God gave as his commandment for the people who are able to do for his people, shelter his people. And that this Dominica Labour Party has done just that, continue sheltering its people all over. Salisbury not excluded, Salisbury constituency not excluded. And Mr. Speaker, I want to highlight one little point. And that is the immediate previous past government, that is the UWP government, their only attempt at housing was to propose some steel, iron structures in the Atlantic Ocean. And Mr. Speaker, if I have to go into a little science, iron, we call it iron in English, but it's really, the Latin for it is ferrous, and it has the chemical connotation Fe to indicate ferrous. That's the only metal in the world that causes rust. The only metal in the world that causes rust. And rust is accelerated by salt. And the sea in the Atlantic Ocean, we know, is salt. And in your own constituency, and I'm speaking now of the former Prime Minister, when you go and you propose to your people something you know, and let me also place on record that the former Prime Minister, Edison James, is a student of chemistry. So he would know the effect of the Atlantic Ocean on the iron. He proposed. See the difference between UWP and Labour. We've embarked on building not just homes, but hurricane-proof, I call it, homes, for people who otherwise would never be able to own a home. And that is where this Dominica Labour Party will continue to be blessed by God. And God will continue to return the Dominica Labour Party to continue to work for and on behalf of the people of Dominica. Mr. Speaker, another project, I can't speak of everything, but another one that is very dear to my heart, that is the geothermal project, Mr. Speaker. And let me press on record my personal thanks to my former teacher and Ambassador Vince Henderson for the great work he's doing in helping to develop this geothermal project, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, for those who have not paid attention, I need to draw to the attention the effect that the geothermal will have on Dominica. One similar to what the airport will have. When we complete this geothermal project, by the grace of God, very soon, you know what it will do? We will not have money to spend for fuel surcharge. We will not have money to spend for fuel anyway. It will significantly reduce the cost of electricity. And you know what will happen out of that? I'm not even speaking about we and our electricity bill. It will cause companies, large companies, manufacturing companies, to want to come to Dominica to build factories because the cost of production will be significantly reduced. These are the kind of projects that we bring in for Dominica for the development of the country. You understand the analogy? When we significantly reduce the cost of electricity by that geothermal factory, factories will come here to manufacture goods because the cost of manufacturing will be so significantly reduced. These are the things that this Dominica Labour Party is doing. Mr. Speaker, I know I don't have much time, but I must touch on internationally spoken of international airport. Because I say international because when our diaspora around the world, Germany, England, Japan, hear of that, they speak of it all on Facebook. And before I get to the international airport itself, Mr. Speaker, what this Dominica Labour Party was doing for air traffic transportation, and many sometimes don't even understand it, just like I explained on the geothermal issue. People don't understand what is happening behind the scene until the final product is there. So what this Dominica Labour Party has done, and this Prime Minister Roosevelt has done, is improved Medvin Hall so that bigger aircrafts can land here. Here it is. So we have night landing. So we move from sunlight landing to night landing. We move from small aircraft to medium-sized aircraft. And here it is. We are now able to get flights from mainland America or United States, same thing, direct to Dominica. That is, all these are in preparation for the construction of the international airport. Mr. Speaker, you wouldn't recall, but for example, the member for Portsmouth will recall when I sat on the other side of the house, and I always proposed that the number one infrastructural development that the country must see is the construction of an international airport. And there's a saying, don't speak of the dead. So I don't really want to speak too much of UWP, but you must mention them. See, every single, you will laugh, but it's a fact. Every single manifesto of the UWP has highlighted the construction of the international airport. So my problem is, why now we see a direct move to construct the international airport? How can you be opposing that? When you propose it, if we go in your last election manifesto, it is there, construction of an international airport. You are the opposition, so we expect you to say, this is not good, this should be. But in principle, the most significant thing that Dominica will ever see, I'm not sure in our lifetime we will see the construction of any bigger infrastructural project in Dominica than the international airport. And I don't need to go into all what it will do for us, because speakers after me will speak of that. I'm happy to be speaking early so I can speak as much as I want on the airport without touching on tedious repetition, Mr. Speaker. But Mr. Speaker, in closing, I want to remind Dominicans of one thing. It was the very UWP who went to the Americans to stop the airport. Yes. But Miss Charles was my former Prime Minister, Dame Mary Junior Charles. Yes. She was more brigand, that is to say, when she take a stand, she took it. But, sorry if I offend anybody, Prime Minister Roosevelt's carriage is more thoughtful. So he will, for instance, he may propose something to the House and people speak, he'll pull it back. Ms. Charles wasn't like that. But Prime Minister Roosevelt's carriage realized that that's our only chance to have this airport constructed, and nothing, by the grace of God, will stop us from getting it. So when the UWP again, Mr. Speaker, goes to CBS, and Mr. Douglas, not you, I said that, I wrote that early. And when I heard you mention it, I showed it to the Sergeant of Arms. So he wouldn't say, it's you, I say that. It's the UWP who went to the CBS program, 60 Minutes, with a view of destroying the CBI. But thanks to God, and God is good all the time, the CBI is going to give us the RSIA. So, in closing, Mr. Speaker, I want to urge Dominican to continue to pray for the Prime Minister and his cabinet and his parliamentary team, and continue to pray for the protection of the CBI, because the CBI has been good to us. Remember Maria. None of us speaks of Maria because we've done so well a job in recovering from Maria that we don't even remember Maria. Recall Hurricane David, those of us, well, I was 3 years, Hurricane David, but there are buildings which were destroyed by Hurricane David, and for example, La Plaine police station, a few years ago, it was repaired. And think of all infrastructure, national infrastructure or state-owned infrastructure which were destroyed by Maria, except maybe the Goodwill School, and there's plans quickly to repair or to rebuild the Goodwill School. All the infrastructure which were destroyed by Maria were repaired or rebuilt. And that's why people speak, and you don't even hear us talk of Maria. Mr. Speaker, in my final point is on roads. And my point on road is that before this Labour Party, the norm in Dominica was pothole. Now, when you traverse, for example, from Portsmouth to Roseau, if you see a pothole, it is an abnormality. And that is what the Dominica Labour Party under Roosevelt's carriage is giving to Dominica. I was going to say these few words, Mr. Speaker, but I haven't got extra time. So with these words, I 100%, I doesn't support 100%, it's always 115, you know. So with these words, I 115% support this budget as presented for the continued development and upliftment of the lives of the people of Dominica. God bless you, Mr. Speaker, and God bless Dominica.
Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Regis. Proceed.
To God be the glory. Great things he continues to do for the Commonwealth of Dominica. And that is what this budget brings to us. Great things for all the wonderful people of our beloved country, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, you know, I don't want to comment about what happened earlier on, but I just want to say to the people of Salisbury and the people of Marigot that you have in Senator Esprit and in Senator Riviere capable representatives who can replace at any time these two people who presently represent you. You have representation who stayed in the House to represent your interest and to speak on the issues that impact you. And so when that time comes, look in the right direction Because I mean, the Labour Party has really given to Dominica great representation. And when you listen to Minister Riviere this morning, I know that the leader of the opposition could not respond to the budget, and that is why they walked out. And I agree with you, Senator Esprit, that they did not have anything to say, and that is why they orchestrated this whole drama and got out of the house. But next time, the people of Marigot and the people of Salisbury know where to look for representation. People who will not walk out, people who will stay in the house no matter what it takes to represent their interests. But we're not going to spend time on that. Let them go to their people's parliament that I understand that they're going to have, and we'll hear about it later. But Mr. Speaker, what a great time it is to be Dominican. What a great time. Today, I stand here not only as a proud member of the Dominica Labour Party, but as the General Secretary of this esteemed political institution, and I am proud of what we were able to present to the Dominican public this morning. I stand too in this honorable house on behalf of the people that I represent, the great people of the great constituency of Granby. And I stand here, and when Granby supports Mr. Speaker, oh my goodness me, Granby comes forward and is resolute in its support. And I speak for all the wonderful people of Granby in support of our Prime Minister, in support of this budget that was presented on Wednesday. I stand with my Prime Minister, our Prime Minister, who has proven time and time again that he has what it takes to lead this country, Mr. Speaker. No matter what is thrown our way, our Prime Minister has shown that he will take us through those times to better times. You know, Mr. Speaker, during the 2019 campaign, I chose a particular song as a theme song before I spoke. And when I listened to the delivery of the budget speech, that song resonated with me all the time. My tomorrow, your tomorrow, our tomorrow must be greater than today. It must be. And that is what this budget spoke to so many times. All the fiscal measures that were brought forward for the benefit of our wonderful people. Certainly tomorrow, Dominica's tomorrow, will be greater than today. Mr. Speaker, the budget presented on Wednesday is a truly amazing budget, and it will impact everyone. For sure, Mr. Speaker, my people in Granby will realize many benefits as we take this country to what we promised, the dynamic Dominica that we promised when we brought this proposal together. Well, Mr. Speaker, I want to begin my presentation with a focus on the ministry that I have been called to represent. Mr. Speaker, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, International Business, and Diaspora Relations has the responsibility for formulating and implementing the foreign policy of the government of this country. This means that the ministry conducts all diplomatic and consular relations with foreign governments, and it represents Dominica in international organizations, and it participates in relevant bilateral and multilateral negotiations, furthering and protecting Dominica's domestic and international interest. More recently, Mr. Speaker, a unit representing the people, the Dominicans who live overseas, or rather the diaspora, has been added to this ministry, a unit that I have the privilege to hold responsibility for. Mr. Speaker, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs is cross-cutting. We work with governments and with ministries as it relates to projects which are being executed under bilateral and multilateral agreements. And Mr. Speaker, this is by no means easy to do. I'll give you an example, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, not too long ago, we had to sit through the bidding process with the Japanese government to select contractors for the refurbishing of the Roseau and Marigot fisheries complexes. And Mr. Speaker, many times people believe that we just sit in offices and we enjoy privileges. Well, I'll tell you, this is hard work. Japan is way across the globe. And so their nighttime is our daytime. Thank God for, virtual meetings. Sometimes you have to stay up at midnight because midnight for us is their midday. But in order to get the work done, Mr. Speaker, we have to make ourselves available to sit in these negotiations, whether it is midnight, 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, and we do it in the best interest of Dominica. And that is the kind of work that we are engaged in. This is the kind of work that we are engaged in to ensure Dominica's success within the global community. And so, I am happy to be a part of that ministry that looks at helping to serve Dominica and to serve Dominica well. But, Mr. Speaker, I want to speak to a few areas that the ministry has been engaged in. I know the Honorable Minister will speak to many of the issues that we put forward for the development of the country, but there are one or two that I want to address. And a few days ago, Mr. Speaker, you would note that Dominica joined the rest of, or rather just about 35 developed countries. We are considered to be an underdeveloped country, but we joined about 35 developed countries, big countries, as we rolled out our e-passport program. That is an achievement for Dominica. This is by no means any small feat. This is a major development for Dominica. Maybe the first in the Caribbean, I don't know, Mr. Blackmaker. The first in the Caribbean region? Antigua has it? Okay. So, in the OECS. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. Now, I just want to speak to the importance of this e-passport to our diaspora community. The Minister of National Security will expound further on what it means for us. But Dominicans living overseas, because many of them have been calling, they have been inquiring as to what happens now. So I'm using this platform to inform them that Dominicans living overseas, they are not being left out as they are woven into the fabric of our country despite not being resident on island. To facilitate their needs, a temporary system of mobile registration kits will be implemented to ensure that persons living in the diaspora can apply for their passports. There are a few people who have been trained, Mr. Speaker, to use these mobile kits, and they are expected to travel to the Dominica Overseas Missions in London, in the United Arab Emirates, and New York for short periods of time to enable Dominicans who are so inclined to undertake registration. So I want them to know that. I want our Dominicans living overseas who are calling me at all hours, all odd hours, to find out what's happening with this e-passport. We will be sending people to at least 3 of our missions, a mission in London, in the UAE, and in New York, for short periods of time. And they will be able to use these kits to ensure that Dominicans who are interested in obtaining their passports, that they can undertake registration. Now, Dominicans living overseas will have the luxury of sending their application to the missions nearest to them or traveling to that mission to undertake registration. So if you're in New York, you can go across to our mission in New York, But if you are in other parts of the United States, you can also send your application to the nearest mission, the mission that is nearest to you. But within a year's time, Mr. Speaker, there will be the development of an online registration portal that will enable persons, both here in Dominica and abroad, to apply for the renewal of their passports from the comfort of their own homes. Mr. Speaker, Sapa and Yankee Malusa. I know you'll ask me to translate.
Yeah, translate.
Mr. Speaker, that's not simple. That's not simple, Mr. Speaker. This is huge for Dominica, and I really want for us to appreciate what we're doing, for security and for improving our passport system in this country. So the members of the diaspora, really and truly, I hope this answers some of your questions, and we continue to invite you to communicate with us as we roll out this new e-passport system. And Dominicans here as well are asking questions, and we do hope that we can facilitate their interest. But, Mr. Speaker, the second area in the ministry that I want to highlight, and I leave most of the areas of the ministry for the Honorable Minister to speak about. Over the last several months, I have been working with a team, both here and abroad, for the review of the Diaspora Policy. Diaspora Policy. Remember, the DAS, Dominica Association of Arts and Sciences, at one time, some 10 years ago, had developed the Diaspora Policy. When I came to the ministry, I felt that it was necessary to review that policy, because you remember in the Dominica Labour Party manifesto, we had suggested that we need a new approach to engage the diaspora. And when I got there, I had to find out how we could do this effectively. And one of the instruments that was presented to me was the then Diaspora Policy. And in many ways, it was obsolete. It could not really relate to our present conditions. I remember it did not adequately define who the diaspora was. And so I began the process of really and truly reviewing the diaspora. The intention was to take that policy document to various diaspora communities around the world. However, COVID came, and so that limited our ability to travel. And so we decided to do this virtually, and a few virtual meetings were conducted with leaders in the diaspora, and they were able to send in their contributions. They were able to send in their suggestions, Mr. Speaker. So what I have in my hand, Mr. Speaker, is a final draft that is being reviewed internally at the ministry and by a few other stakeholders. And I'm hoping that when that policy document is, the review of it is completed, that we can take it to cabinet and that it will become a working document for the engagement of the diaspora, Mr. Speaker. I look forward to that, and I am putting my colleagues on notice that this is coming. So I look forward to the diaspora really embracing this document, the diaspora community embracing this document and making it a workable one for the management of the diaspora. Mr. Speaker, I want to turn my attention to the national budget as was presented yesterday. You know, and I want to have a slightly different approach from what we've seen from our colleagues who preceded me in the debate. I want to focus on what is in the budget for me, or for you, or for the ordinary folks out there. Because I believe that this document is littered with so many wonderful benefits for the ordinary Dominican folks that it is next to our Bible, Mr. Speaker. We must hold our Bibles in one hand and this budget presentation in the next hand, because really and truly, I believe that this budget is a budget based on love and compassion, Mr. Speaker. Love and compassion for every Dominican. Every Dominican can relate to this budget and can find something that they can benefit from, Mr. Speaker. And so I want to pull out a few areas in this budget that can respond to the question that so many people always ask: what is in it for me? What is in it for me? Well, what is in it for you? On page 25, and I will mention the pages, you know, on page 25 of the budget. If you go there and get a hold of it, you will see geothermal development. And Senator Esprit spoke to some of the benefits of our geothermal energy. But yes, it will reduce energy costs in the country, and that is a benefit for every Dominican. Every Dominican will benefit from a reduction in the cost of energy. Many times we complain about the cost of electricity in the country. Here it is that we've been working on the geothermal project for years. And in this budget, we are ready to see quite a bit of development in that sector, and I am very excited about that. And on page 25, you will find what we're doing in the geothermal sector. Mr. Speaker, in tourism development, we're seeing that money is going to be allocated for the development of many of our better known tourism sites. And that will ensure that many more visitors come to our shores. On page 25 there, it says, in this fiscal year, we will see substantial improvements to some of our most visited sites and attractions. And some of them are mentioned here: Champagne Beach, Scott's Head, Indian River, Trafalgar Falls, Emerald Pool, Wharton Waven, and others. And what that means, that the people who derive their livelihood from the tourism sector will see improved areas where the tourists can come. And if more tourists can come to Dominica, it means more money in the pockets of those who work within the tourism sector. That is what it means. So if you are a vendor, if you are a taxi operator, there is stuff for you in the budget. So I hope this answers some of your questions about what is in the budget for taxi operators and vendors and those who are tour operators and so on. This budget caters for you. There are many other benefits, you know. And when you look at agriculture, a lot has been said about what we're going to do for agriculture, but 250 livestock farmers will receive assistance in the form of materials valued at $3.1 million to facilitate the construction of climate-resilient animal housing. You know, after Maria, many of our animal housing got destroyed and so on and so forth, and many of our farmers were not able to reconstruct. But animal husbandry is important in our effort to ensure food security. And so $3.1 million being invested to improve housing. That is what we're going. And then we also see the fisher folks are going to benefit with 50 new boats. 50 new boats, Mr. Speaker. Now, that is important. That is significant, Mr. Speaker. And the farmers can identify very closely with this budget. And there are many. And one other area, Mr. Speaker, that I was excited about. We've been talking about that for some time, and COVID, delayed this. The construction of the tissue culture lab at 1 mile in Portsmouth. This is going to help us to propagate millions of plants that we can distribute to farmers across the country. So again, food security is on the mind of this government as we try to improve the agricultural sector. And certainly, Mr. Speaker, these measures, these investments are certainly going to positively impact the agricultural community, and I look forward to them. And I'm just going to mention, I just mentioned a few of these investments and fiscal measures as we go along. And again, we can put the page at which it is, agricultural investments for farmers and fisheries on page 28 of the budget. So it's not a thing that we're just standing here and talking about. It is actually in there, and if you get a hold of a copy of the address, you can get it. And you know what, Mr. Honorable Prime Minister, we need to do? Something that we used to do before. We need to take this document around the country and speak to our people, speak to the people in the various communities. I intend to do it in Granby so that people understand what is in the budget for them, and that they don't have to say, I don't care because they don't talk about nothing for me in the budget. There is something for almost every Dominican within the page of this. And that is what is beautiful about this year's budget. At one time, I turned to my colleague, Mrs. Skerritt, and said, this is an election budget? Something happened there? It's an election budget? And really that is what it looks like. The upgrading of road infrastructure, and we heard a lot about the roads in the east. We heard a lot about the roads in the Layu area, and of course what's going to happen in the city, an improvement of roads. But you know which road I will highlight, Mr. Speaker. You know which road that I will highlight, and it is on page 33 of the budget address, Mr. Speaker. The Loubier to Bagatelle Road, better known as the Grand Bay Road, Mr. Speaker. That road is finally coming to fruition, and I want my people to take note that the Loubier to Bagatelle Road, really the Grand Bay Road, is in the budget. Yeah. It's right there on page 33. Those who keep asking, what about the Mission Bridge? Every day,
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Don't you recognize the condition of the road? You understand? I get that question every day. It is right there. Mila, look it there. Right there in the budget. And I am so excited that some efforts will be made to address the condition of this road, Mr. Speaker. It is right there. I mean, it gladdened my heart. It gladdened my heart, Mr. Speaker. It did. It did gladden my heart. And Well, yes, of course, the honorable member for the Petit Savan constituency, the Minister for Foreign Affairs, he's certainly excited about that as well, because both of us have been making representation in the interest of that road. And Minister, I'm certain that this is a happy day. I wanted to stand up and sing, oh, happy day! Because our people have been asking, and we now have a footing on which to respond to them about this road that is so necessary. And of course, you know what happened after Erica. Funds were made available from the United Kingdom, and then Maria came, and so the designs for the road had to be revisited, and it means that we would require more funding. That is why the road hasn't started, and the government of Dominica is committing itself to provide additional funds so that this road could get going. And yes, Pierre Charles of great memory spoke about the Meacham Bridge. John Fabian of great memory spoke about it. My predecessor, Honorable Justina Riviere, spoke about it. But today, the Meacham Bridge is coming, Mr. Speaker. It is coming. A fulfillment of many years is coming. And I see they have this machine. What is this machine doing? Yeah, no, it's not an excavator. No, it's testing the soil. It's doing some testing to make sure. Yeah, geotech, to make sure that the new bridges that are coming, the retaining walls that are coming, that the soil can withstand it. And of course, that road will see an enlargement of the road. And what I want to say, Mr. Speaker, to our contractors, get ready, position yourself to get jobs on that road when it's coming. Don't stand by and say, Pal Rep, you know, I want a job. Position yourself to get engaged on that road, because there are millions of dollars that are going to be funded. And you too, you know, Sister Shakira, you know, you too, Palsec in the Ministry of Tourism, because it is known as the Loubier to Bagatelle Road, but I'll tell you, it is better known as the Grand Bay Road. Take note of that. Mr. Speaker, the international airport, a lot has been said about it, both for and against it. But Mr. Speaker, this is the greatest project that we will see in our lifetime in Dominica. And you know, people come to me and they say, if we build an international airport, why you cannot give me a fridge and you can't give me a stove, and we have so much money, we have $1 billion, and build an international airport? I want them to understand that the money for the building of the international airport is not sitting somewhere in the treasury. The international airport is coming to fruition because of the wonderful negotiating skills of our Prime Minister and our... We are building this airport basically on credit, but not credit that will get us to have to repay. It has no impact on our finances and our taxes. But we were able to work with a company, MMC, to take on the burden of raising the money for that international airport. And that is what is happening. So, l'argent pas encore là. Mais l'argent a fini. The money is not yet there, but the money is on its way to Dominica. We are confident that they will raise the necessary funds, over $1 billion, to ensure that Dominica benefits from an international airport. That is the simple way that we can explain it. That is the simple way that we can explain it. And so, Mr. Speaker, the wonderful and decisive negotiating skills of our Prime Minister, the Minister of Finance, has brought us the benefit of this international airport. And you know, there are those who say that an agreement was signed and that is where it will stop. Tell them for me, we're building that international airport come hell or high water. It is being built. And again, I suggest to our contractors, our skilled men and women to get ready, position yourself to be engaged during the construction phase of that international airport. Because the agreement notes that some 60% or so of the workforce on the international airport will be Dominican. That's right. It will be Dominicans providing the workforce for that international airport. 60% or so, or more. And so we have to position ourselves to be engaged during the construction phase of that airport. And of course, others who can work at the airport, you now need to begin to sharpen your skills to work at the airport when it is completed. But I look forward to that day. I look forward to that day. Mr. Prime Minister, I am available to fly to New York and back. To fly to New York and back on the inaugural flight that will land at the international airport. I am available for that, Mr. Speaker. So the international airport will certainly bring many benefits, tremendous benefits for our country. And I'm certain every minister here will speak to that, so I'm not going to spend too much time on speaking the international airport, but just to say to our people to get ready to be engaged. Mr. Speaker, housing, Mr. Speaker. I just want to say that since the launch of the housing revolution, we have built hundreds of homes. Every constituency across Dominica has been impacted by the housing revolution. And we've never seen that before. In the past, we saw 1 or 2 housing schemes being built. I remember the Maranatha housing scheme, the Geneva housing scheme in my part of the woods, and there's the Bath Estate housing scheme and others. But never have we seen that kind of widespread development of the housing sector, and not just housing, but squatter regularization, the washroom, the development of washroom facilities, bringing dignity to our people, and now building resilient homes that our people can be proud of. And later on in my presentation, I will thank the government for what they've done in the housing sector in my constituency. So housing is right there. What we're doing in housing on page 37 of the budget document. Yeah, Mr. Speaker. And our dear Kalinago people, our First Nation, Mr. Speaker, our First Nation, our Kalinago people, they in many ways were not as privileged as some of us who are not Kalinago, because of the circumstances, around how the Kalinago territory was established many years back. But today we're seeing that they will be able to benefit from a fund. I think it is some 800,000 or so that will be made available so that they can access loans to invest in so many different areas of development for themselves. And that is a tremendous innovation that the Kalinago people will benefit from. And so Kalinagos direct benefit from the budget, my friend. There is something for you in the budget right there, my Kalinago braves. And so, the minister, I am certain, will speak to that. But, I remember the tremendous work that previous parliamentary representatives, especially those on the labor side, had done to ensure that we could uplift the Kalinago people, but only those on the labor side. But you can see that the Prime Minister was really thinking of people-centered development when he crafted these measures and put them in the budget. And so we have to thank his spirit of innovation and development for that. Young entrepreneurs, Mr. Speaker, I've always advocated for the development of a cadre of young entrepreneurs who can assemble wealth. You know, many times we're afraid of encouraging people to be wealthy because we believe that, you know, when they get wealthy, they will kick the ladder and not enable others. But when young people are the ones who have many ideas, especially in the digital economy that we're trying to boost, Mr. Speaker, and they have the technology at their fingertips. And so young entrepreneurs, not just people who want to develop cottage industries. We're thinking of young people who can make a salient contribution in the development of the digital economy and other areas of the economy. And here's the opportunity, $33 million being placed at the Aid Bank to encourage you to develop your ideas and bring them to reality and help to transform our economy and our country. Here is opportunity for young entrepreneurs, and I hope that we can really see a cadre of young entrepreneurs who are interested in assembling wealth for themselves, their families, their communities, and the country on a whole. Here is the opportunity. Take advantage of it. And education. Education. You know, this government is the education government, and I know that the Honorable Minister for Education spoke to a number of initiatives in education, and I won't dwell on it too much, Mr. Speaker. Now, Mr. Speaker, as we continue, we see here on page 43, we much talked about minimum wage. We much talked about minimum wage, Mr. Speaker. Many of our Dominicans were underemployed because they were being taken advantage of by some of the people that they worked for. And we saw those who were just not interested in our people. Some of them have closed shop, some are threatening to close shop. But our people deserve to live in dignity. In dignity. And so this government took the firm and solid step to ensure that we increase the minimum wage so that our people can have a better take-home pay. And I am excited about this. All Dominicans should be excited about this. All those working should be excited about this. And so there is something for the ordinary Dominican in the budget, the minimum wage increase. And I know a number of them are looking forward to that increase that takes effect in September. Mr. Speaker, you know, this was a budget that gave quite a bit of attention to sports development, Mr. Speaker, sports development. And the National Sports Trust Fund is something that we've never seen before, but something that is going to help to transform the sphere of sports in this country, Mr. Speaker. We saw our representation at the Tokyo Olympics, and I look forward to that trust fund augmenting our participation in the next 4 years at the next Olympics, that we can send more athletes to represent Dominica. And as is suggested here in the budget document, I want to urge the private sector to contribute to this, because sports has a way of really bringing attention to a country. See what Usain Bolt has done for Jamaica. We have many young athletes, talented young athletes. If given the opportunity, they can do the same for Dominica. And so investment in the National Sports Trust Fund.
20 more minutes. 20
okay.
minutes.
Maybe just 5 minutes. Yeah, that's okay. Mr. Speaker, we have other measures that were in place since last year that are continuing this year. The grant to the first-time homeowners. What a wonderful measure. And so many young people are taking advantage of this. Many young people never thought that they would be able to build a home. Never thought that they would be able to build a home. They felt they were actually among those waiting for the government to build a home for them. Many young people. But now, They are excited about the possibility of building their homes. And I know that 7 young people from my constituency have taken advantage of this opportunity. And since the presentation of the budget, I have gotten 3 calls so far from other young people who better understood what the program meant. And I look forward to even more of them coming forward to build their homes and to take advantage of the opportunities right there. Now, Mr. Speaker, poultry is a staple. Chicken is a staple of the Dominican diet. And when I saw this proposal or this initiative here for the reduction in duties on hatching eggs, I said, you know, what was PM thinking? You know, what was he thinking? I didn't understand it until I read it again. And Mr. Speaker, this is a very, very important initiative, because many poultry farmers have to buy day-old chicks, 1-day-old chicks from Barbados at $6 and so on and so forth. And many die, yes, many die before they get to the farm. Yet still, you still have to pay the $6 for the dead chick. You still have to pay $6. And many times it is not available. Many times you have farmers looking for poultry, for chicks, and they cannot find it. And so, Mr. Speaker, this initiative here, the removal of VAT, is something that is very important to ensure that that staple in the Dominican diet continues to be available. We've come to a point where we have to be importing so much chicken. I think millions of dollars spent every year to import chicken, and chicken that is of a substandard grade, Mr. Speaker. And you also have the abattoir, the local abattoir, not operating at its full capacity because our people cannot supply. This initiative here will help us to develop the poultry sector and to ensure that our farmers can actually make a salient contribution to our sustainability and food security when it comes to chicken and egg production, and that is very, very important. And the removal of tax on rental and rent income. I mean, that is another one. I don't know where PM pulls this out, where he pulls out some of these initiatives. But you can clearly see, Mr. Speaker, that, you know, these initiatives emanate from the heart and soul of the Minister of Finance. It's not technocrats developing this budget, and I was told by one of my colleagues that other countries pay people to develop their budget document. They pay them millions of dollars to develop, but this comes from us. This comes from consultation with the public. This comes with love and compassion. I know the budget was crafted under the theme, building on our past, solidifying our present, and securing our future, but I want to add to it love and compassion, because it takes into account the manner in which our people live. It takes into account the real challenges that face our people. And we've gone through every sector in the society. Everybody has something. Even children have something in the budget where more money is being invested to ensure the security of our children. So Mr. Speaker, I want to propose to the government side that we need to take this document across the length and breadth of this country, and I commit myself to that process, to ensure that our people understand all of the initiatives and fiscal measures that are available to them, so that we can fully grasp the importance of this document, this budget presentation. Mr. Speaker, I know my time is running out, so I want to quickly go through a number of areas of development in my constituency, the great constituency of Granby. Mr. Speaker, I have spoken to a number of projects and programs which I am certain will benefit Dominicans both here and abroad. I now want to place some focus on my constituency. Mr. Speaker, through you, I want to say to the good people of the Granby constituency that the future is bright. I say to all of us that we are in good hands with the leadership of your parliamentary representative, Edward Williams. I work night and day to ensure that we bring benefits to our people. Mr. Speaker, the fortunes of the Granby constituency are continuing to look up, and we can all take comfort in the fact that the Dominica Labour Party always seeks to improve the lives and circumstances of its faithful supporters, and that all the residents of our beloved country, and Granby is by no means any exception, will be better off following the implementation of the measures in this budget. In the area of housing, Mr. Speaker, during the last fiscal year, government handed over apartments to 30 vulnerable families, thereby transforming their lives and their fortunes. Today, these families have settled comfortably in their new homes and have established a vibrant community which showcases the true attributes of sovereign hospitality and pride, Mr. Speaker. On behalf of the residents, I extend fervent thanks to the Prime Minister and the government for this truly transformational gift to my people. Thank you so much. Mr. Speaker, the government further promised that at least 70 more apartments will be constructed at Hagley and Centre. The new units will provide shelter to other vulnerable families in our constituency. In addition, it is our desire for the construction of even more homes, and I ask for that every year, and I look forward to that being fulfilled. More homes in the Montine area and in Grand Colibri. Mr. Speaker, we are thankful for these plans, and we look forward to the start of these projects in Centre and Hagley to provide much needed accommodation to so many of our people who are still in need of resilient housing. Mr. Speaker, the Granby constituency also benefited from a consignment of doors and windows, which was distributed to 53 families to assist in efforts to make their homes more resilient in preparation for the 2021 hurricane season. Additionally, the Minister of Finance recently approved funds to build new homes and to undertake housing repairs, and as well as to improve the sanitation conditions for several families across the Granby constituency. To date, 28 families have benefited from these funds. I am aware, Mr. Speaker, that there are many other constituents who are awaiting assistance from the government for housing development. And today I wish to assure all of them that the constituency housing program will continue. Therefore, I urge them to be patient and to work with me to ensure that as many people as possible will benefit from the assistance and support being provided by the government of Dominica. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid. Your assistance is on its way. In the area of education, Mr. Speaker, 16 students from the Granby constituency are currently pursuing higher education at universities around the world. These students are the recipients of financial support from the government of Dominica, which helps to pay their tuition and, in some cases, their accommodation expenses as well. Additionally, just over 60 students from the constituency are benefiting from free tuition at the Dominica State College, and hundreds of secondary, primary, and kindergarten students have already begun to benefit from government's textbook and uniform programs for the upcoming school year. At this juncture, I wish to pause to commend Ms. Dominica Paul of Powell in Granby, who was a student of the St. Martin Primary School and who emerged the top student at this year's Grade 6 National Assessment. Dominica, we are all very proud of your achievement and extend best wishes to you for continued success as you begin secondary school. You and your family can rest assured of my support as you journey through your educational pursuits. I also commend the efforts of the teachers and students of the Tetmon and Granby primary schools. I am aware that you had to function under difficult conditions, with the Granby primary school moving to a shift system and the Tetmon primary school being accommodated at the community center. Please be assured that your government and your parliamentary representative is aware of your challenges. A grant totaling over $3 million from the government of Canada is being used to finance much needed repairs at the Granby Primary School. And I have been advised that the project is just about 50% complete and is expected to be completed by the end of this year. Mr. Speaker, on behalf of the government and my constituents, I extend our gratitude to the government of Canada for their continued support in the development of our people. And of course, the Granby Primary School is 50 years this year, built back in 1971 from funding provided by the father of the present Prime Minister, Pierre Trudeau. He provided the original funds for the construction of the Granby Primary School, and today we're saying that his son, Justin Trudeau, is providing funds again for the development of the Granby Primary School. What a tremendous legacy, what a tremendous legacy there. And the Tetmon Primary School, on the other hand, is among 6 schools to be repaired with funds from the government of the People's Republic of China. Work on designs are ongoing, and we expect work to begin soon thereafter. Mr. Speaker, I wish to once again express on behalf of the government of Dominica and the people of the Granby constituency our deep appreciation to the government of the People's Republic of China for this grant, which will no doubt have a positive impact on the lives of our young people and our community on a whole. In the area of sports, Mr. Speaker, some from the Granby constituency have long been hailed as sports titans. I wish to extend my congratulations to the principal and staff of the Granby Primary School on their great performance in sports at the national level. The school emerged as the primary school's girls' football champions, as well as the boys' basketball champions. They also captured the primary school's netball championship and emerged as the runner-up in the cricket primary school's championship on their way to cupping the overall 2nd place in the primary school's sports from a field of over 63 primary schools. What a performance. Lay bon, Mr. Speaker, dey bon. When it is good, say it is good. Because many times we tend to criticize our young people, but they have achieved in sports, and I really want to place on record my commendations to them.
5 more minutes.
10.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the Honorable Edward Regis be given an extra 10 minutes to conclude his presentation.
Seconded, Mr. Speaker.
It has been moved and seconded that the Honorable Regis receives an additional 10 more minutes. Those in favor? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it. You are awarded an additional 10 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, colleagues. As we continue to focus on sporting developments in the Grand Bay constituency, I wish to thank the government of Dominica for the sum of close to $500,000, which is being used to upgrade the Geneva playing field. Gratitude is also extended to FIFA through the Dominica Football Association for making available $150,000 for the first phase of the upgrade of the Geneva playing field. When completed, the playing field will certainly be one of the premier playing facilities on the island, affording our people the opportunity to participate and excel in various sporting activities like football, cricket, athletics, and rounders. We are pleased, Mr. Speaker, that the project is progressing satisfactorily with a projected completion date set for September 2021. As I showcase our achievements in sports, Mr. Speaker, I wish to recognize and draw attention to the accomplishments of one of my constituents, the great Alec Athanas. Congratulations is in order for Alec, our Windward Island cricketer, for the outstanding performance at both the regional and international level. With 414 runs at the 2018 ICC Under-19 World Cup, which included 2 centuries and 2 50s, Alec Athanas has the makings of a future international star. Mr. Speaker, I am of the opinion that through his exquisite timing and ability to get on with the scores quickly, Athanas can provide a little cushion of support to a somewhat jaded West Indies team in a tournament where courage and team spirit can go a long way towards defining success. Mr. Speaker, I wish to use the platform of this honorable House to say to the regional cricketing fraternity to look carefully at the performance and qualities of young Athanas with the view of nurturing his talent, as I am confident that he can make a significant contribution to regional cricket. Pick him on the scene. Pick him on the scene. Still on sports, Mr. Speaker, I recall in the past that basketball has always been a favorite sport in the Grand Bay community. Remember the likes of Bata Pros and others. I am delighted that investments in the development of the sport is ongoing. The development of the basketball court at Center, which was begun by my predecessor, is ongoing. Recently, we saw the installation of a multi-purpose fiberglass rims at the facility, which is meant to accommodate both basketball and netball. And I believe that that is the first of its kind in Dominica. Further investments in lighting and the installation of a new acrylic surface will soon be in place. Mr. Speaker, our basketball court at Center in Grand Bay will soon closely resemble the newly constructed hard courts at the Windsor Park Sports Stadium. And Mr. Speaker, with these major investments, it therefore comes to no surprise that we are witnessing a new resurgence of interest in the various sporting disciplines in Grand Bay. I continue to pledge my full support to the development of sports in the community, and I applaud the appointment of a new sports officer for the area, Mr. Kiwan Thomas, who is expected to commence work on August 1st, 2021. Yes, it is your constituent, Honorable Minister, but he will be the sports officer for the entire South. And he's actually my cousin. He's actually my cousin. This year's budget espoused many opportunities for sports development, and I urge the sportsmen and women of the Grand Bay constituency to position themselves to take advantage of these opportunities. Mr. Speaker, I wish now to turn my attention to the progress that we have made towards the improvement of healthcare in the constituency. We have seen improvements leading towards the better delivery of healthcare services provided at the Granby Type-Free Health Center. The project, which was funded by the Pan-American Health Organization, PAHO, is now 95% complete, and it will feature several new services, improved dental services. We can look forward to that. We will also see an improved waiting area, an isolation room, a much improved accident and emergency room, energy-saving features, and improved water storage to enable the health center to be able to be functional in quick time following the passage of weather events. The facility is expected to be commissioned soon, and I am confident that health services will be much improved in Granby. Mr. Speaker, for the first time, we have 2 medical doctors serving the Granby Health District. And that is, of course, with direct representation by the Honorable Pal Rep. In addition, 2 new male nurses were added to the health team. So we have increased the health team. The Granby Health District was active in the rollout of the COVID-19 vaccination program. I am not very happy with our level of vaccination, and so I wish to take this opportunity to encourage the adults and those who qualify for vaccination in the constituency to get vaccinated, to protect you and your family from this dreaded virus. Let us, in the Granby constituency, play our part in fighting this pandemic and allow Dominica to reach herd immunity so that our lives can return to some level of normalcy. Youth development. Mr. Speaker, youth development and advocacy has always been close to my heart as a former president of the National Youth Council. Solid investments in our youth today is certain to impact positively on the future of any society. In the last fiscal year, $210,000 was invested for the repairs and refurbishing of the Granby Youth Center, and the Minister for Youth knows how much I pursued her in ensuring that these funds were made available, and I'm sure the Honorable Prime Minister had a hand in that as well. I want to thank you both. The repairs included the decking of the roofs of both the Youth Center and the adjacent Enterprise Center, improved kitchen facilities, and a complete perimeter fencing. The center is now well poised to accommodate various youth development programs as well as to serve as a hurricane shelter. The center now houses offices for the newly established Granby Farmers Cooperative and the Granby Preschool. 8 young men are currently undergoing training in electrical wiring at the center as part of the Youth Development Division's skills program. The program is expected to be completed at the end of August. Mr. Speaker, small business. Small business owners in Granby are also set to benefit from the fiscal measures set out in this year's annual budget. Over 30 small business owners applied for concessionary loans at the Aid Bank. However, many were not able to access the loans due to the fact that the funds which were originally allocated were inadequate to meet the demands of all the applicants. Recognizing the important contribution that small business has made to the development of the economy, government has decided to allocate more resources at the Aid Bank to accommodate those who had not benefited. I am delighted that many of my constituents are set to benefit from these funds to improve the quality of goods and services that they offer to the public. Mr. Speaker, several small business owners from my constituency have also applied for small business support from the small business unit within the Ministry of Tourism. I am pleased to note that a few of these applications have been processed and are awaiting approval. About 2 months ago, Mr. Speaker, I met with a number of young persons from the Grand Colibri area with the view to encouraging them to engage in income-generating projects, which could provide employment for themselves and their peers. 15 of them completed applications for small business support, which the government is prepared to support. However, it is being recommended that these young people undergo some basic training in financial management before their applications are favorably considered. As a result, Mr. Speaker, I look forward to working with these young people to ensure that they receive the requisite training to be able to access resources to finance their respective projects that would allow them to realize their dreams. This small but significant intervention, Mr. Speaker, has the potential to transform the community of Grand Colibri from an area of modest indigence to that of aspiring progress.
3 more minutes.
That's 5. Just to complete. That's 5. That's 5.
Your mic. Your mic.
Honorable Edward Regis be given 5 more minutes to complete his presentation.
Seconded, Mr. Speaker.
It has been moved and seconded that Honorable Regis be given an additional 5 more minutes. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it.
Thank you again,
You are
Mr.
given an
Speaker.
additional 5 more minutes.
Thank you again, Mr. Speaker. This will be my last request for time. Now, Mr. Speaker, in the area of public infrastructure, more specifically public road development, the Grand Bay community can boast of major improvements to the route leading to the Tetlali area. Just over $2.5 million was invested to construct a major box culvert, maybe the largest in Dominica, as a corrective measure to a compromised structure which had outlived its usefulness. Mr. Speaker, we are also ensuring that the infrastructure in the Grand Bay constituency is resilient. The aesthetics of the finished works on this project continues to delight all who traverse the area, and I wish to compliment the local contractor, Mr. Shane Alexander, for the exemplary work undertaken by his team in completing this project. Further, Mr. Speaker, several community roads are earmarked to be constructed throughout the constituency in collaboration with the Grand Bay and Tetmon Village Councils. I am grateful to the Honorable Minister for Public Works for providing a mixer truck to facilitate the construction of the roads, as well as the staff of the ministry who are dedicated in their task of operating that truck. I am also grateful to the Honorable Prime Minister who is providing cement for the undertaking of these important community projects. Mr. Speaker, road safety is of critical importance to me. There is a portion, of the main road in the Montine area which is being undermined. This is the area from Ma Martin's house to the deceased Ma Possible's former residence. I am happy to inform the residents that designs have been completed for the construction of a 3-part retaining wall for the area. 3 local contractors have already been identified to undertake this project, which I anticipate will commence in this financial year. Mr. Speaker, I wish to further inform residents of Montine and Tetmon that the area from the top of Mon Anisette to the junction next to Ma Williams' house is set to see the installation of guardrails in an effort to improve road safety against that threatening gorge in the area. Mr. Speaker, there is a small area in Tetmon known as Gaza, where the residents have never had access to pipe-borne water due to the elevation of the area. The same is true for the top of Grand Colibri. Mr. Speaker, from my days in the employ of the Dominica Water and Sewage Company, I have been inundated with requests for assistance from those impacted. I am happy to inform the residents that I have worked with technicians at the WASCO to design and cost 2 projects to address their needs, to access potable water. And the Honorable Prime Minister has assured me that these projects will be favorably considered. So, Mr. Speaker, water for Gaza and Upper Grand Colibri could become a reality within this fiscal year, and I'm so happy for these wonderful people. Mr. Speaker, I rejoice with my people because I know the importance of water for dignified living. Mr. Speaker, the communities comprising the Granby constituency have largely depended on agriculture for their daily living. Estates like Geneva and others in the area have been the largest employers for many people, and subsistence farming has provided further support both for nutrition and income generation. I am delighted that soon there will be the launching of a Canadian-funded project that could see the resurgence of ginger and turmeric production in the Geneva area, a prospect which I am certain will be welcomed by many of the farmers. In preparation for that project, Mr. Speaker, I have undertaken basic repairs to the Mopo segment of the feeder road, which serves the main cultivation area in Granby. The other segments, known as the Makaton region, as you heard from Senator Nichols, is expected to be given attention under the BAM project for the rehabilitation of feeder roads across the country. Mr. Speaker, as I end, Granby has never been a tourism center in Dominica, but Mr. Speaker, the focus now shifting to community tourism. I'm hoping that we can take advantage of opportunities within the tourism sector to showcase our cultural heritage by focusing on cultural tourism. In that regard, I recently met with a community organization along with an official from the Ministry of Tourism to explore our prospects. And I must report, Mr. Speaker, that we identified a number of initiatives that could be undertaken to develop Granby's tourism potential. As we focus, Mr. Speaker, on culture and heritage, I wish to take time off to recognize two iconic cultural organizations from Granby who are this year celebrating major milestones. Yes, Mr. Speaker, the International Undisputed Kings of Cardass, the Midnight Groovers, are celebrating their 50th anniversary this year. And also, the multiple award-winning Tradibel Cultural Group is also celebrating its 40th anniversary this year. I congratulate both of these cultural icons and thank them for their continued contribution in their respective art forms. Mr. Speaker, there are many other areas that I could highlight, but time does not allow me. So therefore, as I wrap up my contribution to this debate, I say to my constituents to continue to work with this Dominica Labour Party government on this journey to a dynamic Dominica. From my presentation, I went through great effort to list all the initiatives of this budget that will positively impact your lives. I invite you to come and discuss with me how we can, as a community, benefit from these impactful measures aimed at improving the lives of every Dominican. Dominicans, Dominica is ours to build. I invite you to join hands with the government, with the Dominica Labour Party, with your parliamentary representatives and your caretakers as we continue to build on our successes to fully realize a dynamic Dominica. Mr. Speaker, with these words, I want to stand resolute in my support for the 2021-2022 national budget. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, I move that this Honorable House be suspended until 7:30 this evening.
It has been moved and seconded that the House stand suspended until 7:30 p.m. Those in favor? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it. House stand suspended until 7:30 p.m.